on my mind. Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the award-winning combat sports podcast, The Boxing Show. With me, your host, Rob Tebbutt. As always, I'd like to remind everybody to please like, comment and subscribe. Turn your notifications on for more boxing content. Now that's out of the way, I am delighted to be joined this week by the ever-present-ish Mr. Barry Jones and the co-host of the third best sports podcast, combat sports podcast in the world, Mr. Declan Taylor of the GGBC. Dec, I can see you're rocking the merch.
This whole thing.
Congratulations.
Do you know what?
You're on the
hearing it
podcast.
there, you know, I see it every week when you're like, award winning, but hearing it there in person, that's fucking crushing, man. That's like watching your missus like snog someone. Yeah. You're like, poor, he said it in person.
Actually, no, you mentioned that.
Yeah. You know, that's where Andy Clarke is. But you know, the worst thing about
she bent down once.
is it?
I kissed her.
Say, oh god. Yeah,
I welcome it every week.
Yeah, but you know the worst thing about it is we didn't even come second. So you know, like if we come second, it's like we was Rob, blah blah blah. But we didn't. I can't even, third. We came second last year.
Yeah, but it's because we entered and you just went down one place.
Yeah, so
you're on an award-winning podcast.
That's all that matters, and George ain't here. So
there we go.
And we got
just as well because I wouldn't do that if George was here.
No, you
George, is that George?
Yeah, George is here. Yeah.
Represented.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
Can't write properly.
You know when you said, "Can you come on?" I said, "Who's dropped out?"
Yeah.
I was glad when you said Andy because otherwise it's just three non-boxers sat here talking about boxing.
People don't like that.
You need someone. You need someone who's done it.
It's no effect. I don't want to say it's like a twat, but like if there's three of you, it's not. It's just a podcast.
Yeah, it's like
it's not really the award-winning podcast.
No, it's just a pod.
It's because of me.
This must be a big moment for you, Deck, to be on the best combat sports podcast in the world.
Been on it fucking loads of times, mate.
Well, yeah, but since it's actually now officially the best.
I mean, you ain't going to win it now. I'm on air because you'll probably be third now.
To be fair, don't bring us down.
Yeah, just bring us down.
You might get a sympathy vote the next time round.
Yeah,
not off me.
Hey, listen, that's second 2 years we haven't won it. George won his world title after 4 attempts, so as long as we get it inside 4. That's fine.
And also, it's all under the same banner.
The thing is, right, he had an easy fight to win it, right, on the 4th attempt, compared to the other ones he boxed. To be fair, the first 3 were vicious, but like, if we don't go anywhere, you got no chance.
I was going to say, well, I don't know though, because
you might move up in weight. Start doing a food one.
We've entered once and won once, so now I think we're not going to enter again just to keep the 100%. We're going to retire. We're going to leave stuff on the table.
What is it? Emeritus champion.
Yeah, the Rocky Marciano of boxing podcasts. But anyway, there's a lot to get through today. Of course, we've got to look at this past weekend, as well as look at 4 of the 255 boxing cards that are happening this weekend. But let's start this past weekend on Dalton Smith. Barry, you were there in attendance in Sheffield. I think it's all fair to say that award-winning Andy Clarke, discussed about the potential of this being a banana skin or, a big step up for Dalton Smith. I think it's fair to say he passed it in flying colours.
He did, and it was a big step up, and there's loads of risk attached to the fight. And people, everyone can look back and go, he passed his best, and you look at Richardson Hitchens and go, there you go, that was a proof that he's one as good as he once was. Maybe, but I think it was still a really risky fight for him. There's lots of things that he did that could have been a nightmare for Dalton Smith. And my worry was, I thought Dalton Smith would win. When it first got announced a while back, I thought, they made a mistake there. I think it's a big step up. He should have gone, as we said in last week in the podcast, he should have got Pettersson. That was the right step up for him. That's sort of European level. He bypassed that and he's gone to, on paper, what would be the right fight. A guy who's boxed for world titles but couldn't win one. That would be the right fight for someone like Dalton Smith now to push him up close to the world rankings. But in that weight division, that happens to be Jose Zepeda, which is a better fighter than normally you would associate with that sort of ilk. And I just thought, like, if he want to be hit like this, and he'll try and get too greedy, and that was the worry. And I just thought that was the only caveat I had about him. I thought when I watched Richardson Hitchens, I thought if he can box that way, sensible. He don't box the same, but he's just sensible. Doesn't get too greedy every time he has success. Doesn't get overexcited. Then I think he can box quite comfortable and win. but always with the worry and the danger of getting caught. But that never happened. I mean, the first 2 rounds, I think you've seen a bit of danger in Zepeda, and then it looked like he just couldn't find his judgment of distance. But it was Dalton. I think he had a good look at him. I think Mike Costello said, like either in commentary or after to me, he just said those first 2 rounds, I think Dalton just really had a good look at him, and I'd just see what he was up against, and the way he attacked, what line of attack he was taking. And then every time Zepeda moved, he had to that left hook over the top, or that straight right hand on the middle, and his footwork was fantastic. And that body shot was a lovely shot. And I know Grant's taking a lot of credit for that's what they worked on. But you hit him with that shot like 100 times, and he doesn't go anywhere 99 times. That's the truth.
Really?
Yeah. Because but the one time you don't see it, that was the beauty of it. It wasn't the actual shot, because you could those shots in the middle, especially the straight shots, you tense for that. Yeah, but he just got him. He was so far out, and he jumped into distance really quick and jumped into it. And he couldn't tense for it.
It was sort of off rhythm a little bit, wasn't it? He just went a little bit quicker than what he was expecting for the follow-up.
And I got to say, that's really clever footwork and the vision to see it, to be fair, just to see the elbows a bit high, and he went straight in for it. And then, once that catches you, you're done. Like, I think I said in the commentary, I said, right in the bread basket.
Love that. That made the blog.
Yeah,
that made the live blog.
That's been, I think, Dalton Smith ended up.
It's the boxing news that we do. It's on the app as well. But
I saw it.
And I put.
But you know, you love the app.
I love the app. Bang on the app.
It said Barry Jones said on the commentary right in the bread basket, and that's brilliant.
So Dalton, I think, is put in his put on his Instagram story as well. Dalton Smith, he said, it's a loaf of bread in the basket or something like that. So there you go, Barry. You can charge him some money for that. That's a Barry Jones trademark.
I should follow him now.
Deck, as Barry's just said there, very impressive. I don't think you cannot be impressed with how Dalton Smith went about the performance against Jose Zepeda this weekend.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Zepeda probably won the first round, and it was just a case of him having a look. Very disciplined, very mature performance. Especially, but coming off the back, he's off the back of the Maxwell win, wasn't it? Where it kind of had a lot of it his own way. If you look back at that knockout, it's like an Ngannou knockout, the way Maxwell went down. So the way he came in and then just sort of, just a very steady, gradual erosion of what Zepeda was offering him, which is hard against someone like him. No one's ever stopped him like that. I know he sort of retired early against Flanagan, but like that early in the fight.
Yeah, no, you got stopped by Prograis late in the fight. There was an attritional fight with a lot of...
Yeah, so, I mean...
Even Branchek, wasn't he?
Exactly.
That up and down thing there, but he's the one who prevailed. He's the guy who can get hurt and carry on.
Yeah, so it's just it's almost a perfect fight and a perfect performance, because if he'd blown him away in 1 or 2, it's like, Zepeda's finished. But Zepeda showed enough to show that this is not just like a shadow of his former self. He still would have beaten a lot of good boxers on Saturday, would have. But... yeah, Dalton Smith marches on, and I know we're going to talk about in a minute the Adam Azim thing, but like if you look at his last 2 wins, very impressive. He's, because remember, everyone pumped the brakes a little bit on Dalton Smith with the Allington fight and
Casey Benjamin.
It was just like, oh shit, we maybe all getting a bit of ahead of ourselves, thinking, what's his ceiling? But he's responded to those suggestions with 2 massive wins, and he's 27? Like the next
age,
the next 6 years are going to be big for Dalton Smith and for British boxing, because we need someone like that.
Yeah, and we as we've all discussed and all saw on the broadcast at the weekend, we have a fight to build alongside. Whether we're going to get it next, whether we get it in the future, those names and Dalton Smith and Adam Azim have both been linked together really for the last couple of years. I mean, it's been talked about. It's not not a new thing. Do you think we get that, Barry? Is it the fight that you want next?
No, I'd love to see it for a boxing fan, but we're not going to get it next, and I understand why, because they're going to want now. No, like, I know Dalton called him out, but that's him in the ring, and that's not him as a businessman. And also he has people looking after his career, and they're going to say that's not the fight next. Not that he'll go in a favourite, but Adam Azim's good enough to beat him. Let's be honest about that as well. No, but because up until that point, Adam Azim's boxed at European level, and Dalton's been boxed at domestic level up until that fight. He just leapfrogged, haven't he, in an impressive fashion. But they want a world title attached to that fight. And the problem you got in that weight division, there's a queue. I mean, you might get your opportunity, but you might want to be in the queue. Do you know? Because the queue's around. That is a horrible weight division to be in. Like Prograis looks now easy pickings.
He's sort of been cast as the gatekeeper, hasn't
Yeah,
he?
do you know what I mean? He's not easy,
yeah.
but compared to the others, he does, doesn't he? You know, all right, Ryan Garcia I think, he's not the best out of the lot. Just he's a massively marketable fighter. But he's still a dangerous fighter who can punch. But also, you've got Shakur Stevenson's going to come in. Now, you hoping he's going to stay at lightweight as long as you can. You'd help him lose weight, wouldn't you? You know what I mean? I'll give you a diet plan. Shakur, stay where you are, mate. You know what I mean? There's bigger fights on here for you.
Wiping his brow.
You're
fine, mate.
Just kind of massaging the sweat out of him, like, let me buy you a radiator. But so it's a vision where you might want to wait in the queue a little bit before you get your opportunity. So them two are not going to fight till they get a world title test. I don't think that's going to happen now. They're going to want that to sell it to a stadium fight, or they want the money for it. And TV want that thing attached to it to pay the money for it. Right now, as a domestic clash, as good as it is, it doesn't do a pay-per-view. It just doesn't, because they're not.
No, of course not.
They're not massive names and not heavyweights. So, and the money that they want for that fight, there's both camps. And where does it go? So
per split is 50-50 in it, and I don't think the money, a bid could be big enough for them for that to happen. So
domestic, if it was for the British and European title, I know literally we're like 2 days away from that being a reality, but no, that's gone. So, I mean, it won't happen. It won't happen. No, this is not. I mean, it's a great fight. It's an intriguing fight actually, but it won't. That's not going to happen. There's too many variables for that not to go the way. What platform does it land on? Where they get the money from? Where is it placed? It's just too much. I don't see it. And also the aspirations now, Dalton Smith, his team, where they're going to take him next, because they're in a good position or a bad position, depending on how you look at it. They got a route to a world title now because they got a lot of those fighters in their side of the street.
And they have the WBC silver title, and we all love to kind of poke fun at ranking belts and stuff like that, but it does give you a lofty ranking.
Yeah, parks him right up there.
He was already top 15 with the WBC. It's interesting you mentioned there, Barry, about kind of routes to world titles and what have you. I think the general feeling is that Devin Haney's going to move up after the Brian Garcia. Sandal, and as good, I think we can all agree, as good and as tricky as Sandal Martin is as a fighter.
Beating Devin Haney.
But if you get that as a vacant belt, if you're Dalton Smith and you get the opportunity to box Sandal Martin at 140 amongst all of these other killers in the division, you'd have to take that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, 100%.
It's funny that these boxers who win world titles, like sneak in and win world titles, surrounded by good fighters, like weird, isn't it?
I'd do that ahead of
Tony Bellew did it. I mean, that's been slagging on. It's like because I forget the fact the champion who was WBC champion, he broke his leg, I think, and then Bellew got the Vegas title with Marku, but the champion. Can I remember the fight was going to be a Box Nation, and then and the fight against it was a Russian guy.
Drozd.
Yes,
Droz.
Good fight, wasn't he? Good fighter he was. I mean, really good fighter. He said the problem is, I think he broke his leg or something.
He had some issues.
Who cares? But so that didn't happen, and then that got arranged quick. So within the midst of all those really good fighters, he got Marku, who was a good fighter, but nowhere near as good as the others.
And he was made out like he was, oh my God, it's Marku.
Well, actually,
sort of like that
fight's aged well, because Marku went on to really good things. So I'm not slagging it, but I mean, sometimes that can happen, and that's what happened with Dalton. He might get in there amongst all those killers around that weight division, and get the easiest fight that he could get for a world title, which is not an easy fight. Like Marku won these fights. I'm not trying to slag Bellew off because he's massive, but I mean you just get the fight. All fights are dangerous at that level, but you get the easiest one out of the lot, and that's just the way it goes. So again, though, he gets that world title fight, but then what's Adam Azim bring to the table all of a sudden? That's what that'll be the argument there. So he's going to have to get up to that level, which I think he will. I think he will quite quickly.
Without pay-per-view, though, I don't see Sky being able to stump up enough cash. No. And same with DAZN.
Yeah, of course.
Can't see it. But I sort of land on this. If you lose, it doesn't really matter, because that's the thing in it. It's like, well, if Adam Azim gets knocked out by Dalton Smith, like, where does he go? I kind of agree to an extent, but James DeGale, George Groves, perfect example.
You're like that.
He lost. James DeGale lost, as he did in the amateurs. He went on to win Olympic gold. He was the first out of the two to win the world title. He got a European title fight in his next fight after losing to Groves. So it's not like you're not fucked. It doesn't help. But like, if you make a shitload of money from that 50-50 split in that fight and you lose, and in a great fight, then you come again, don't you?
It's one of the things that we've spoken about here, and obviously being the GGBC representative, talking about James DeGale and George Groves is perfect. But it's what we've discussed on here is that sort of like it does always get referenced when these fights get put together, but it is still the exception to the rule.
Exactly.
If you look at the fights over the years, if you look at for every James DeGale and George Groves, there's a Scott Quigg and Carl Frampton. And
yeah, there is.
But that's more because Frampton was that much better than him on the night, and then had a higher ceiling. And Scott Quigg still had a great career.
Yeah.
And he got paid well for that fight.
But they could have boxed at British level for 30, 40, 50 grand
true.
is what I'm talking about. And then they end up fighting for millions in a unification. And again, there's nothing to say that, okay, let's say the fight doesn't happen, we want to build it. There's nothing to say that, let's say, I wouldn't personally see it happening, Sandor Martin knocks Dalton Smith out.
That fight's gone now.
Yeah.
It could be at its ceiling right now.
So there's always different ways to look at it.
But you get to a level, like you fight early in your career, like I boxed a kid called Neil Swain who won a Commonwealth title. This is a lower level. And I boxed a kid that Shelty won a European title, but I beat them, and they go to win things better than I did before I did.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But I went on to do better than them in the end. But I mean, so them losing to me, they got to a title before I did, a pair of them. So it almost doesn't matter. Or I boxed Michael Devaney, won a British title after I beat him. Earlier, I think it was my third fight. He won a British title like a year or so later. So like a loss doesn't matter, but early in your career is better. I mean, you get to that level, that British title level, and that could be. I don't think it matters, but to them and to the perception of how good they're going to be, and now the promoters look at them as well. Depending on you lose, that's very important as well. That can be the stumbling block. Now Adam Azim's got to European level; he's European champion, and he's looking to go beyond. And Dalton Smith has leapfrogged that level now, and he's now world level, and he is. Then they got to wait for the world title now, because if you lose to Dalton Smith, you've lost for the world title fight. That doesn't matter. You come back from that.
So do you think Dalton Smith is the one that's not going to be taking the fight?
Yeah,
because the narrative, isn't it? It's Adam Azim's going to bottle it, and they want it. So Smith want it. That's what Willie and Tom.
It just sounds madness for. I mean, he believes in himself, and fighters will fight anyone. But I mean, for the whole team that's set up, it sounds madness for him to theoretically drop down a level. All of a sudden, he was stepping up a level. No, he's dropping down a level. But like, when his next fight might be a world title fight, might be if Haney vacates that title, by the end of the year he might box Sandor Martin for the world title. So
which you couldn't imagine turning that down. Like if you put to Dalton Smith and team Sandor Martin for the WBC title or Adam Azim for the European title, I think the answer probably would be quite straightforward. Whether it plays out like that or not, we obviously have to wait and see.
You'd be an idiot to anyway. You'd be an idiot not to. Even if the Azim fight was more money, unless it was massively more money, and it's not going to be massively more money. It might be a little bit more. You just got to go. I'd take that. I'm a world champion forever, and also I can beat him. And then my next fight, if it's not Adam Azim for the world title, and I'm getting the bigger purse because I'm the A side, then I might get. Ryan Garcia might think of me as easy pickings, and I get big money for that fight, which he could beat Ryan Garcia, by the way, or Shakur Stevenson moves up in weight, and you go back to Shakur Stevenson, you get big money for that fight.
Then you're in a different league.
He doesn't step back down. I think I'm not saying that fight won't happen, but I find it highly unlikely now for that fight to happen in the next 18 months.
It's sort of what Dex said. Somebody's going to have to stump up some serious cash there, because I'm sort of like, knowing both camps very well, it's upset both of them. Like we've been at you were at the show at the weekend. With respect, was there 10,000 people there? Was there 12,000 people there? I know you kind of build him, but same for Adam Azim in a sense of like, we watched him headline against Santos Reyes. We've watched him headline. They are building. They are not doing 10,000 each.
And I don't think we're missing out. Exactly. I know sometimes you go, we're missing out. Like with Frampton and Crick, we're missing out on a great fight there. Maybe we thought that at some point, but I don't at the minute now. I'm not. I'd love to see that fight, but I don't think we're missing out, because they're still having good fights.
I agree. And you know, the thing with DeGale and Groves is that they fucking hated each other and their backstory and ringside, so it captured the imagination.
The beef here seems to be between the promoters.
Basically, it seems like dick swinging, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Dalton Smith and Adam Azim are barely going to say a word to each other in a press conference.
Yeah.
You know, especially Adam. That's not what he's like. Dalton Smith is, he's not spiky. Seems like a very pleasant,
very
character.
Guy, yeah.
So like, that's not going to have that. Whereas back in the day, they had that, and that's why it crossed over. I think you're right. I don't see this as a
that was unique though, wasn't it?
And you had James DeGale, the Olympic gold medalist as well.
Olympic gold medalist, by the way, he's a really nice bloke. We all met him. He's a really nice bloke, and you can't say that because George Groves.
No, he's a lovely bloke.
I think he's always been very horrible to me, so I'll stay.
He done like interviews.
I didn't think. Before I met him, his whole perception of him wasn't very. I didn't think he was very nice. He didn't come across as like a great guy, but actually, I think he's a really nice bloke. Really nice fella.
I don't. Sorry, James.
Lovely James. Anyway, better than George Groves. No. And George Groves is a lovely bloke, but everyone thought George Groves was a lovely bloke. Yeah. So, but you had the Olympic gold medalist, should be the golden boy of boxing, who a lot of people didn't take to. And then you got George Groves, George Groves didn't win an Olympic gold medal. They only beat him as an amateur still. Everyone loved him. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of people fancied him that fight. I know a lot of people, I was living in London. I'm still on the outskirts now. But a lot of people fancied George in that fight. I didn't. I thought James would have too much for him, too much bit of skill and movement. But I was wrong. And it was a close fight, but I didn't think so. George was the right winner. But what I mean is, so like the guy with the chip on his shoulder, because like I'm the Olympic gold medalist, why everyone in love with me, and they weren't, because he didn't come across in the Olympics like the loveliest of blokes.
Got booed on his debut.
It's just madness, isn't it? Madness. He turned it around in the end, didn't he? Because of his performances, he showed how tough and grit he was. But I mean, at the time, he should have been, and everyone was clambering to win. And everyone wanted George to win.
But there's none of that here. There's none of the ingredients in this fight. So I think you're right, Barry. I don't think it happens next. It's a shame.
People are not going to like this. But anyway, let's move on. Barry, before we do move on and talk about some of the rest of the card, Barry, you mentioned earlier on that you would have Dalton Smith a favourite in that fight. Just expand on that if it were to happen next.
I would know. I think I don't know why. I just think that a bit more of that maturity about his work. I just thought he was. Only a couple of fights ago, I'm not quite sure, but I just think the last few fights he's clicked into gear, like as Declan said, and I think that one in his biggest test, there would have been a worry in that fight, knowing I can't make a mistake, and I think the fact that he knew it was a fight that he can't afford to make a mistake, and he never
shows maturity.
I think but like I think he needs that. Some other people say, "Oh, the better the opponent, the better your fight." That's not always the case. The more fearful you are, the better your fight. Or you get knocked out.
But he would have had no fear against Allington or Casey Benjamin.
Or I don't think Maxwell either. I think Maxwell wasn't the fight that he once was. I don't think. I think he's another guy who probably stayed amateur too long, rightly so. But I mean, he's still a good fighter and a dangerous fighter. But I mean, he would have thought at this stage of his career and where he is that I got too much movement for him, and I got too much. My time would be too good for Maxwell, and that proved to be the case. And naturally bigger guy, not more powerful. But against Zepeda, though he's naturally bigger, but he knew the guy was the way how long he punches with that. I was saying all the time about that long 1-2 he throws, and he get on that on target a few times. He throws that long left hand. He rolls that shoulder. I was right what I was saying, wasn't it? He gets it really long. You can't, and he caught him a few times with it early in the fight. I thought he won the first 2 rounds of Zepeda.
So.
But he never panicked. He just had a look, and I think the way and that maturity of thinking, I think he won't panic when Adam Azim's throwing those lightning fast combinations, and he just can't quite defend against him as much as not as he normally would against other guys. But I think he'll be able to read it and adjust to where he has to put his feet, or he gets caught with a shot and gets put to sleep. I think, but it's that sort of fight. I think it's a great fight. The speed and the athleticism of Adam Azim versus the timing and the more controlled boxing of Dalton Smith.
It's literally thunder and lightning, isn't it?
Thunder and lightning.
There you go.
And he's called Dalton Thunder Smith.
There we go.
You should have someone writing.
Get it on the app.
It's going to be a lot.
I can't spell lightning.
It's going to be a lot of app.
Actually, I was reading the boxing. You can't spell a lot of stuff.
Nothing to do with me. I don't do any writing. I can't spell. That's the reason why. Okay. Before we move on, Dec, how did you see that fight going? If it were to happen next in this crazy old world,
you have a different opinion in 2 months' time.
Yeah, I think Dalton Smith is. I think he's had more professional fights for a start, and he's a bit more seasoned, clearly older, obviously age-wise. Yep. I think he had far more amateur experience as well.
Boxed at a much higher level.
Yeah. So he's just a bit more seasoned in that. I think Adam Azim he's impressed me in his last few fights, where when he's not just like chinning people, but he has sort of emerged as a bit of a sort of low volume power puncher, essentially 2s and 3s maybe. He's not really flurries and stuff like that, and I just wonder whether Dalton Smith might be able to handle that. But you're right, it's one of them where he could chin him, and that's why it's a great fight. I mean, if I had to put my house on it, I'd be backing Dalton Smith at this point, but that's because there's difference in age and everything else. Like, that's just right now. But you're right, in another fight's time, Adam Azim is improving every fight, probably every day. Like he's still on that curve. with the trainer of the year. So like, who's to say that by the time the fight actually rolls around that he's not much better than the last time we saw him? And he was good against Paulson, wasn't he?
He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, his whole career.
He put a foot wrong.
I'm a massive fan of his. I've been saying for a long time early, when he was knocking him out there, I just thought his progression is organic. I know when you sort of like you're planning all your routes, and because how good he naturally is, the potential that he has is that you can leapfrog levels with him. If he blasts people out quite early. Now they got to European level, he's not blasting them out. So they've done the right thing, and I think the McGuigan's are great at nurturing talent. I really do. And no, they got a recipe for it, haven't they? But they've kept him at this level, and they might have another fight at this level. I think that's right, just to make sure he's right before he goes to the next step. Because the next step's a big step in that weight division. The next, as we know, is a huge step up. So they're doing the right thing, and he got time on his side.
Yeah, at his age, if you go that step now, you got to stay there, isn't
He might be in like middleweight, super welter. Sorry, he might be a super welter in a year's time. You don't know. The kid's only young. He might still be growing. So this fight might never happen. We'll be talking about him and Hamza Shiraz. He might be a super middle when Shiraz moves up to super middle. You just don't know where he's going to end up. But right now, I think there's no rush with him. But he is a world class talent, potentially to be world class. And Dalton Smith was that. I know Dalton Smith proved he's world class, but still on the fringes yet because the champions are quite special at that weight.
Yeah, just having a look through the WBC rankings. Dalton Smith was number 13. A win for Richardson Hitchens over Jose Zepeda took him up to number 2, which he's now fighting Gustavo Lemos for the IBF. The IBF mandatory position. So he kind of moves away from the WBC. So you've got Sandor Martin, Gary Antoine Russell. See, Jack Cattrall is boxing Josh Taylor. Barboza Jr. might be boxing Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia might not be boxing Devin Haney. So yeah, there's a few names above him, but you would expect Dalton Smith, really. I think the general feeling from Matchroom's perspective is that he probably cracks the top 5 based on that win for the WBC silver title. So let's say... last one before we do move on, it's not Sandor Martin, it's not Adam Azim. Who are we thinking? Maybe a Regis Prograis or somebody like that for Dalton Smith?
Yeah, that's the perfect fight for him. The guy who's past his help, but he might be past his help by date, Regis Prograis. But
he's not looked good in his last couple.
No,
but
it might be perfect timing.
Yeah,
but that's a big splash in America if he
but he has that power and that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I was going to say energy.
Because this is one of the things.
I'm not sure if he has that energy.
No, but this is one of the things that we discussed beforehand with the Dalton Smith Zepeda fight. Is like once you're there, it's kind of what we're talking about. He's not okay if it's not Adam Azim and he considers that dropping down levels. He's not going to drop down and box a European guy next, is he? It's going to be like the name that I've spoken about in the past that I like for either one of Adam Azim or Dalton Smith is Richard Comey. I like that. Like some a well-known guy, former world champion, naturally smaller, coming to the end of his career a little bit.
With the danger that he has that power.
He can punch a little bit. Yeah.
The only thing I say about Prograis is he didn't look good his last fight, but it was Devin Haney. So
he was poor against Danielito Zorilla though.
Yeah, he was. That was why we were talking about. He can't box a guy who moves.
But which Dalton? Well, I don't know. So he boxed on.
Dalton's not a dance. He's not a dance though. He can move, but he slides around. He's not a mover in the ilk of a Haney.
Yeah. He doesn't. Or a Zorilla, like Zorilla just ran really.
If I'm steering Dalton Smith though, and a decent money comes up for the Azim fight, I don't see there being any problem at 27. Take the Azim fight now, and then look for someone like Prograis.
I think if the money's there, they do want to. I do think that.
But I don't think it'd be. I don't think it'd be there for where they're going to go. Listen, you might get a world title fight next, or if not, the one after. So let's do this and this, and the money will be that, or you take that, and the money's a little bit more. But how much more? It's got to be a lot more, haven't it, to take that risk of then you getting beat, then you all of a sudden you got to wait another 18 months then before you get back to what would be called world level. What do that for?
Sort of undo the good grace that you got from the Zepeda fight, don't you?
You
took the risk, you passed it, then you went back and then you went back again.
You're rolling in the right direction now.
Yeah,
that's all. So that fight, but it's a fight. I'm just really trying to be realistic. I'd love to see it. Yeah, like I don't care who wins. I mean, I want them all to win the world title. I mean, I want the guy who's on the zone to win more than the guy who's on
They both
Sky.
are, though, aren't they?
Unless Sky going to give me any work, then come on. No, I mean, no, what I mean. No, I mean, you just want them all to be successful. But ultimately, we as boxing fans, that's what we are first and foremost. We just want to see the best fights we can see. So if that fight can happen, let it happen. But in reality, it won't.
Okay, a harsh dose of reality for you on Monday.
It's in Saudi.
Or
Wembley.
Not sure those are the types of fights Saudi are looking for. But we'll see anyway. Deck, going to come to you for Sandy Ryan's stoppage win over Terry Harper. Too big, too strong, it looked as though at the weekend.
Yeah, that was exactly right. She walked through Terry Harper. I thought it was a very good performance, a nasty performance. Sandy Ryan's always had that, especially like to the body with the lead hand and that. You know, she loves that. And just Harper just wilted. I was very impressed. I picked as always, I did the preview for the Boxing News. Said it could be a draw because I thought it was 10-2s, you know, whip through it. Terry Harper could be, you know, at her best, just movement and slick.
Flurries and
and then it's a very close fight, and it's, you know, it gets to that point, but it's just never in any danger of that being the story of the fight. And that was nasty, and just no mercy from Sandy Ryan. She seems like she's just got a chip on her shoulder. She's obviously moved to America. I think has grown up as a person. Like, we know Sandy Ryan from a long time ago when she was on GB and young, and you know, the sister of Dave Ryan and that. Now she's grown up and she's mean. I think she's very mean. Absolutely. And Terry Harper just had no answer for that.
I mean, she had a chip on her shoulder pretty much from the moment she turned over. Yeah. Obviously had the loss early in her career against Farias, obviously subsequently avenged that. But it looks as though, Barry, she's got another equally big, if not bigger, chip on the other shoulder. And give Barry his credit on the prediction side of things. I was just waiting for him to pick the stoppage.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
pick the stoppage, as did I.
That's a great pick.
Do you know I picked it? And I was right one night. I said about Terry Harper. I thought Terry Harper could be a boxer. I said Terry Harper was probably the better boxer of the two. But every time she gets hit with a decent shot, not even a heavy shot, a decent shot, you can see the panic in her. Every time, and I've seen I won't go back to the Baumgartner because that was just a great shot. I mean, but before and since then, she's been hit with shots, and when she doesn't look comfortable. I mean, nobody's comfortable, but I mean, she shows it. And I thought, and I said this last week. I think with Sandy Ryan, I think she'll feed off that.
She even said that, didn't she? She said, I saw her. She said, I could see that I got to her, and then I was like, you ain't getting off the hook yet.
I literally couldn't have been more. I couldn't have been more right. Yeah. Everything about it was like. But I said that I did a podcast with BBC straight after, and I was going, well, I did call it. I was telling Sandy because we had Sandy and Brian Peters, and I was going like, well, Brian Peters doesn't do any media, and we tried our best to get him on. And I was going, I said exactly what you would do. Like, I'm so chuffed about it.
That's what I mean. She watches it.
I mean, not just for Terry Harper. Like, I was disappointed for her, bless her. But the fight's a fight, isn't it? But he knows his fighter, Steffi Bull. Like, after the first round, he said something like to her, "This is the fight we're in now." And I thought that didn't sound great because it was only the first round, and it wasn't a torrid first round. It wasn't great for her. It wasn't a torrid first round. I just thought, hang on, that's not, and so he knows this.
I was going to say, it's knowing your fighter, isn't it? And if you can see that she doesn't,
and that's why, and that's why she quit. No, because really, like in a fight like that, a world title fight, you got to go up for the next round. There, she did take a bit of a beating, but again, there was nothing that she looked like she was going to get knocked out. No, and that's the thing about women's boxing. Sometimes when you watch women again, it's still, I don't feel that way, and I generally don't. But so you see referees getting a bit edgy when you see women take 3 or 4 shots. You know, you can see them going, and I'm thinking, don't stop it now, because she doesn't look hurt. She just looks panicked. And then, you know, you got to give them, not for our bloodthirst. I mean, for her, she wants to win a world title. Yeah. She wants to win another world title. Terry Harper, it's a 2-weight world champion here. You know what I mean? Full of, with all the experience, all the pedigree out of the two girls, really. But do you know what? Though she was fantastic, Sandy Ryan. She was, and that last barrage of punches, she was so accurate and precise with them. You know,
didn't waste one.
Yeah, she didn't. And so even though she was aggressive, she was controlled with it, and she was punching long. And yeah, she was really good, and it was a really good stand-up performance, I thought. And that was really, like, she should have been coming off her best win of her career. Yeah, against Jessica McCaskill, which I thought we all thought she won that, I think. But she's got her best win of her career now.
But that was off the back of new trainer, new manager.
And she spoke about that. She spoke that in the week, didn't she? Yeah. So like, I think like people are looking at this as now's the time to get me. And again, like, she is that type of character, Sandy Ryan, where she, you know, she does have a chip on her shoulder and stuff like that. You could tell. And even on the back of that, where the performance against McCaskill, where she, you know, in a lot of people's opinion, myself included, she was very unfortunate to not get it. You could just imagine that adding fuel to the already roaring inferno inside Sandy Ryan.
I don't see about this new training, new thing, though. I think that's it's more difficult when you're a really seasoned pro, and because women's boxing, they're not allowed to be seasoned pros because they fight for world titles in 5-6 fights. Well, she had Sandy Ryan 11 fights,
8 fights now,
8 fights,
less than that.
You know what I mean? So like, if I changed trainers after 9 fights, no one would blink an eye. I know she's boxing for titles, and it's different. And it's different. I do understand that's different. So it's a bit more intensity. But I mean, because you haven't had that longevity with your trainer when you're boxing, and you've boxed through the levels with that trainer, really, because they literally go from one level to the other, don't they? So I don't think it's more difficult. It's less difficult for them to adapt to a trainer because it's easier for you when you're early in your career to adapt to a trainer in those early fights. Am I making any sense here? So I think it's not so bad for her. She'd had 25 fights with one trainer, and she's changing. She's gone through British, European, world level. If they had that system, and then you go in, you're setting your ways now. You've got to get a new trainer who's teaching you new things, but it's not. You're still it's the luck for them. They can get the opportunities quicker, but also more difficult where they're still learning as they win world titles, which is a crazy thing to say, really. She's still learning about her trade, but now she's a world champion, and maybe the best in the weight division.
It's a good division as well, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got Natasha Jonas will have something to say about that, and so will Lauren Price when she beats Jessica McCaskill in May, which she will. And then don't forget that. And she will. I think she will. I think she'll box her ears off. And
I agree. Totally agree.
McCaskill's has own fight, isn't she? Unlucky.
Close fight.
It's a draw.
Close fight. Tune into the zone. Find out how it.
Very controversial. I think that's going to be.
Okay, so moving on, there's 4 shows to talk about this weekend, so we're going to try and touch on just these last 2 fights from the weekend. Barry, going to come to you first. Campbell Hatton, unsuccessful in challenging for his first title, the Central Area title, come up short against Jimmy Joe Flint. What did you make of the fight?
It was a good fight, wasn't it? I think he showed plenty of ball. I don't know where his aspirations were or what the public's aspirations were of him. His father was a fantastic fighter, of course. But he never looked anywhere near as good as his dad because he didn't have the experience as an amateur, and he had to learn on the job. He hasn't got the natural strength and power, but he's learned his trade. He's got a bit better, I think, than he was when he turned pro. And I thought he'd be too busy for Flint, but he wasn't. Flint, I thought, everyone praised Hatton, and we were praised Hatton in the commentary, praising how tough he was, and he's getting hit with shots, he keeps walking forward against a non-puncher, I would say, but still, he showed plenty of grit. He didn't win the fight. That's fair enough. There's no shame in that. But Flint, that was a bigger fight for Flint than it was for Campbell Hatton. That's a massive occasion for him. Everyone knows he's up against a star's son, so a star in his own right in that many respects. On a bigger platform he's ever been before, and probably a bigger crowd he's ever boxed in front of as well. There was 3,500-4,000 in, I think, and he showed up and put on a good performance, I thought, and showed more than I thought. He was a good boxer. He was a little bit lazy at times. It might be all hustled. And he didn't end none of that. Showed a bit of power, I thought, not without being a big puncher. He was busy when he had to. He didn't let Hatton to get any more than 2 punches on him before he fired back. And just outboxed him, outthought him, and outfought him. That's the truth of it. And Hatton was brilliant and really showed that he was made of stern stuff. But he was just up against a better guy, and this might be his level. I mean, this is level for now. He might learn and go beyond that. But then he might just wake up today and go, do you know what? I had to go. But I don't know if I can get beyond this. That was a hard fight. What I would say is, and it's not always the case, but if you have a fight like that at this level and lose, then you might not be going too far. It's horrible to say for a young man, and there's no shame in that. If you're area level, the boxing, that's not a bad level to be at. We all talk about world level all the time now, and anything beyond that, you're shit. That's area level. Winning an aerial title is an achievement. Winning anything's an achievement. But we think, looking at him, for British level, he wins this fight and he gets eliminated for a British title, but that's not going to happen now. So he gets a rematch with Flint, but Flint might beat him again, I think. So I think we might see the end of him. I mean, I think he doesn't need to retire, but he might. Where's he gonna?
What's his goal? What's his ambition?
What is his goal? I mean, because of his name and the platform he's had, they probably thought that he's been thinking about world champion, like we all do. I'm going to be a world champion one day. Now, actually, my day was all British champion, but now the aspirations are bigger. Everyone dreams bigger, but that now looks impossible. It was always impossible that people didn't know him, but to him, in your mind, you always think you're going to get there. And now we might think, when am I getting a British title shot? And that looks very far away. So I don't know where he goes, and I'm not like condemning the kid to the end of his career, but he might not have the same, because he doesn't need a box. There's not a need for it to do him. Doesn't he? And it's not saying he got to live off his dad's money, because he's a grown man now. But I mean, there's other avenues. I'm sure there's other avenues for him because of the name he has.
I'm not. I kind of disagree with that. I wonder whether he needs to box, because it's all he's ever known, literally. You know, we've seen him in the old 24/7s all
makes you feel old.
when he's done it, and that's all he's ever known. And then he was an amateur briefly. COVID hit, turns professional. I don't know what he
stays in the game like his uncle, doing some other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, financially might be like, maybe I don't need to do this. I haven't seen his bank account, but like
he's done all right. Without earning fortunes, he's done okay. But I mean, he can still work. He can still run that gym.
That's true. Yeah. Because you don't want to be Campbell Hatton and go and leave boxing and go and do something else and be Ricky Hatton's son who failed at boxing. So I wonder whether he wakes up and goes, fuck this. He's a young man. He showed a lot of heart. He'd never had to do anything like that in a boxing ring, ever in his life.
He didn't look for a way out, did he? To be fair to him, he didn't look for a way out.
He did go down once. There were times he was hurt. He was wobbled. I thought it was a fucking great fight.
It was a good fight, wasn't it? Yeah.
And
it's good. Actually, every fight was good, I thought.
Yeah, it's a good one. But I reckon Ricky watching will be fucking proud of him. Because sometimes it's not about going in there and winning a fight, because he's done that plenty of times. Just going in there and watching his son and being like, fucking hell, kid, like you proved something to yourself and to me and to everyone, which is more than you just walk through someone that no one's ever heard of. Turned up, put it in. I must admit, I did pick Jimmy Joe Flint in the mag and on the app, because I just thought it was too early, too soon, a bit rugged and more experienced. But if they had a rematch, I'd fucking watch the hell out of a rematch, wouldn't you?
Yeah, if he fights, I think that'll be the fight for
him.
Yeah. And Flint won it because he gets to go in the zone.
You'd rather box him than defend against somebody else for the central area. Of course you would.
In a legend centre somewhere, he gets to go on the bigger platform again, doesn't he? And also, like, you want to make that fight to him. It was such a good fight to watch. It was a good fight.
Easy sell, easy make for that slot on the card again.
Yeah, but I don't think he shot one. I think but I mean, he might have found his level for now, and that
doesn't please him enough.
I tend to think that might be where he is anyway, which is no shame in that. But for him, and because the name he's got and the criticism that he's had his whole career, which was not fair but inevitable. You have to take the rough with the smooth. You get the big opportunities because who your dad is, but also you got to put all that pressure of people waiting to point the finger. You're shit because you're not Ricky Hatton. Like Conor Benn, you're shit because you're not Nigel Benn, and Eubank Jr. It goes on forever, don't it? I don't know why they put their sons through it. Like why would and maybe they haven't. They want to do it, don't they? I got a son who's 8. He wants to go down the gym all the time. And I go, well, you can, because no one gives a shit about me. But it's still, he's not. The chance of him being as good as me are almost impossible. But I'm nowhere near as good as them. It's just a massive leap for a minute. And then you'll get a Eubank Jr., people like that, who do surpass, who are actually good enough to be almost as good. But even then, as good as they are, they're not as good as their dad. So, but there's a need to want to prove yourself, isn't there, as a son? My dad was an electrician, but I was an apprentice electrician. I didn't want to be a electrician, but you just go, you naturally just follow your people, don't you? That's how it works. But I mean, I think this is him where he is at, which means you can still compete and still win. You'll win it. I think you can win a central area title, and maybe box for a British title, maybe. But I don't think he wins a British title. I don't think he has it in his locker. I just don't see it. But yeah, it was a great fight, and he did really well. But Flint deserves all the praise because he was the opponent. Even though he was the champion, he was the opponent.
They put him on the right side of the poster.
Yeah,
not
a fan of that.
No. Put him where he's supposed to be on the poster. Good for him as well.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He really was. Talk about Hatton. Like every time, Hatton showed loads of grit and determination. So did he.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't have Hatton. As I said, he wouldn't have Hatton more than if he Hatton with more than 2 punches. He fired back straight away. He wasn't having none of it. Like he was really good. And so he deserves his next. He deserves to be on a platform again. He deserves to be shown somewhere. And how good he is, who knows? Like who knows how good he is? Because I do think he lacks a bit of power. Though he looked like he was a decent little puncher, I thought. But yeah, it was a good fight. Ultimately, it was a good fight to be in. A good fight to be involved in. And looking back in your career, you look at that fight, even though he got beat hand, you look at that fight with a bit of pride, like his dad does now. There's my son there, and he didn't shy away or shit himself when he was in trouble. He tried to fight his way out of trouble, and that's all you can ask.
Absolutely. Okay, final fight from this weekend, Troy Williamson against Ishmael Davis. It was a fight that I think we were all quite intrigued by beforehand. You've obviously got Troy Williamson, extensive amateur background, obviously been there, seen it and done it as a pro, and Ishmael Davis, who we still really don't know an awful lot about, but we found quite a lot out about him this weekend, I felt.
He looked really good, didn't he? Oh, I was very impressed with him. And yeah, I mean, obviously Williamson blew the weight, absolutely fucked it. And the fight nearly got called off. That can't have been good for Ishmael Davis mentally either. And he was so good. Both stances, countering, like he head and body, front and backhand. I thought he was so good. And it's not like it was a shell of the old Troy Williamson or anything like that. He wasn't at his best. Obviously, the weight was a real problem for him. So he's already said he's going up, hasn't he? So like, you know, he wasn't firing on all cylinders, but Davis still got to do a job. And I think he was... I mean, I was very, very impressed with him. I'm excited to see, like, in that division as well. Excited to see where he goes next. It's another one. He's got the personality as well, the backstory. We want to try and get him on the GGBC because he had twins when he was 15.
How do you want to be on that?
If you're watching, Ishmael, come and get us you can get us a trophy. Come and give us a good story. Get on this pod and get us up the rankings. But he went to prison. He only just started boxing. Like, you know,
don't go on that shit podcast. They're getting my old opponents on it. You know what I mean? Good Johnny Harris.
Come and join. Yeah.
Beat me, Johnny.
Yeah, good old Johnny Harris. But yeah, Ishmael. I mean, I thought it was one of those breakout wins that everyone has. No, not everyone has. Some people have, and you can mark it. You look down and you're like, that was the night he sort of came of age a bit. And I think that was it for him. And now I can't wait to see what they do with him next. They've got a star there.
And he had to show a lot, as you mentioned there, Dec. Obviously, all of the stuff going on beforehand. As I understand it, the fight was off.
It was.
Like the night before the fight.
Really.
It was very kind of last minute. So he had to deal with all of that outside the ring, but also in the ring as well. You mentioned there, this wasn't a shot to pieces, Troy Williamson. Was it the best version of Troy Williamson? Probably not. But particularly sort of those middle rounds, like you started to come into it, didn't he, Williamson? And that's where you want to see those things from somebody like Davis, who we've not seen an awful lot of him.
He'd never been beyond, I think he'd never been beyond 8 or something.
Yeah, exactly. He's only had one scheduled 10 rounder.
That was his last fight.
Yeah, exactly. So like when he's in 7, 8, 9 and Troy Williamson's starting to get into the fight, you think, okay, the experience now, and then we're going to see it. And I think he handled those tests really well.
But he showed the McKenzie fight that, as good as he was, that he doesn't go through the gears. So at times that he was throwing the better punches, but McKenzie was outworking him at times, and that was happening in the Williamson fight. I thought, it just reserving the energy, worried about what was coming next. Or not taking nothing away from Troy Williamson, but I mean he had him where he wanted him early in the fight, Davis, but then couldn't get into third or fourth gear. He boxes at that pace, which is really good. He picks his punches well. But I think that there needs to be some urgency in some of his work sometimes. He needs to be able to change the pace of his work. But it's a learning process. But I think it's how you train. I don't think he trains that way. And that's that because the way he fights, I imagine in sparring, he's controlling everyone. And so he needs to find someone who he can control to learn to be to train to up the gears when he needs to. Because I think there were times there that if he sustained the pressure and put a bit more urgency in his work, he might have got Williamson out of there, which would have been a wicked result, by the way. But I think Troy Williamson, we spoke last week about he's been a middleweight before he didn't make the weight. We were saying he was a middleweight anyway. He should be a middleweight, and I was worried about him being. He boxes in straight lines too much his last few fights, and that might be due to the weight. And
he did against Josh Kelly bad.
Yeah, I said one dimensional. I was a little bit cruel, but he did it on Saturday. Even as good as he was, he was a bit more. He had a bit more bounce to his step, but it's still, you know where he's coming and where he's going when he punches. If you haven't got the energy, you can't keep up with him. But he showed loads of grit, like he did, like Williamson.
Yeah, because he could have wilted because he did
some big shots.
Yeah, especially early first half of the fight. But I think he'll learn a lot from that, Davis. I mean, and what you were saying about preserving the energy and just maybe thinking, I'll just hold something back here. And now he's like, no, I know what I'm doing later on. I can put a bit more. But
when you get to that round 8, you gotta go. If you've got the energy in you, it's easy to stack. You're right. Actually, you're right. I was on the night. I was sort of saying in the commentary, like, this is the time for him to step it up a bit now. But like, again, it's your first it's your first big fight. It's been a real big fight against a former British champion. You haven't been this distance before. You are going to be skeptical.
You know when you're ahead in a fight. When you're ahead in a fight like that,
never happened.
It happened to you a lot.
I wouldn't
when you're in control of a fight and you're like, I can't fuck this up here, or I could. How easy is it to just go right? I'm just going to go, not cruise control, but safety first. I want to win this. I've got it in the bag.
It depends what you got. So when you don't have the power punch like I didn't, then you have to be intelligent with your work. So there is a frustration to watch someone like me, because you do think, come on. But I'm thinking, well, come on. But I'm giving him a chance to hit me, because we're punch for punch here. Even though I had a good chin, we're punch for punch. Even if you don't hurt me, he's going to get the satisfaction and the bigger shot, and that gives him the mental lift, and he goes and he gets it. You get energy from that. Your brain gives you that energy to move on. But someone like Davis, who does have the power, he steps it up and puts it on you. He hurts you, and then when you back up, he jumps on you. You just got to go just got to slide that front, keep sliding that front foot forward. And also, maybe don't switch so much as well, I would say. Because I think he's having more success, I think, in the orthodox stance, I thought, than he was in the southpaw stance. Or the other way around. I remember, it was a long night. But I'm pretty sure it was that way. And I thought, you changed one time. I thought, you don't need to change it. You're better off doing this way, because that right hand was landing every time. But I thought he was fantastic. I'm not criticising him here. But because you see a kid like him, you think, oh, there's so much more to get better. That's when you got the ability. He's going to get much better. He is. He's good to watch. I think he has potential to go really far. But this thing's to work on. So this point him out for him. I hope he listens it back and goes, "Oh, what's that prick on about?"
And goes, "I'll come on the GGBC instead."
No one knows what
But it's like Ezra Taylor. He's another one who looks like he's fucking really good, and you're like, he needs one of those fights now. Ezra Taylor, for instance. I know we've got loads to get through, but when you see someone at that stage and you think you've got all the ingredients, got everything, and then it's just almost the intangible stuff where you only see it in a fight like that against Troy Williamson, which I think we did a bit.
But to control Troy Williamson like he did at this stage of his career compared to where Troy is, that's a statement.
Particularly with how inexperienced he is.
Oh, I mean, it really is. Yeah, it's a real statement. A fantastic win, and I do think we got a little bit of a star there.
Looking forward to seeing him again. Okay, let's move on.
I'd just like to say it now.
No, let's move on, and we're going to go backwards. We'll start on Sunday and work our way back because because we've got about an hour, so we're doing okay. We've got 17 shows to preview. That going to come to you first. Fraser Clarke versus Fabio Wardley. This is a proper British heavyweight title fight, British and Commonwealth heavyweight title fight. Maybe not quite of the ilk of a Joshua White in terms of hype and intrigue around the time, but I think probably a more well-matched fight than that was back then, and certainly one to get excited about.
Yeah, it's a proper humdinger. I think the difference with the Joshua was such a mega
massive star.
Yeah, whereas neither of these are, and I think they're very evenly matched. I've never seen, like I said before we started, before we started, I've never seen a spectrum of predictions like this. Normally it's like, Wardley by knockout, Clarke on points or something like that, or there's a consensus opinion. Everyone can make a case for everything happening. It's such a good fight because we don't know enough about either of them, really, because Fabio Wardley's had more fights than Fraser Clarke, obviously, as a professional, but obviously Clarke has that overwhelming amateur experience and pedigree and whatnot, and then you think, well, what does it even count for in a fight like this? Wardley has been known to maybe get caught early doors sometimes, but then some people say, well, Wardley starts really sharp, like Eddie Hearn says he's a really fast starter, and I'm like, well, Fraser Clarke maybe could make a dent in him early doors and then take control of the fight, and he has that now. But then you think about the Fraser Clarke and the Dave Allen fight, and you just think it was all a bit pedestrian, and that we're talking about gears with Ishmael Davis. Like, as he got that gear, we know Wardley is a bit more unpredictable, punches a bit looser, a bit more sort of varied, I guess, and then Clarke is that really stand-up amateur style, but hard to beat, like what you always say about heavyweights, just straight punching, rugged, tough, and great engine. You just wear someone like Wardley down, or does he get caught? Like, we haven't really seen Clarke get hit as a professional yet. He used to mix it with the best in the world at 91 or plus 91, and he just hasn't done that since he turned over. Of course, that's not what happened. So it's such an intriguing fight, and then just with the added caveat with all heavyweight fights, anyone could get caught at any time. It's a beauty. And then do you know what, we talked about purse bids earlier, and obviously famously got pulled out of that whole purse bid debacle. It hasn't ruined this fight in any way.
No, it made it better.
Yeah, it made it better. It's put the chip on Fraser Clarke's shoulder because he had to take all that stick at the time. And now, down the line, when he's boxed Marius Vac and Dave Allen, and Wardley's gone and beaten David Adelaide in his another big grudge match. So in 4 fights, he's boxed Nathan Gorman, David Adelaide, and now Fraser Clarke. So he's like experienced in these high pressure situations, when the argument is he's the inexperienced one. So all those ingredients make for a wonderful fight. I don't think it's going to be a draw, I'll tell you that. Not putting that on the app.
Barry, experience is a word that's been discussed a lot. I mean, Dexter said it 17 times in what he just said there. You have kind of the pro experience of a Fabio Wardley versus the amateur experience of Fraser Clarke.
Experience. That's it. I think this, like in a fight like this, like you've got to favour Fraser Clarke. That's what you first thought. You've got to favour Fraser Clarke. Look how good he was. Look how technically good he can be. But he hasn't been matched great as a pro. I think his development as a pro has been awful. I think for a man of his ability, like what's he been doing? Not him or them or two. I don't know who's to blame or is there anyone to blame. They might think they're doing the right thing, but what the VAC fight, that was it, isn't it? Really?
If you look at the way Joe Joyce was handled early on in his career, and they're similar guys in like turn up.
Yeah, I wouldn't have made it that hard, but I would have made it a lot harder because you need the fights to. Someone like him, sorry, I totally interrupted you, but it was my
I interrupted you
fucking
anyway,
turn. It was my turn.
I'll go back.
No, I'm joking. No, but I mean, you got to keep him sharp. Someone like him with that ability, you got to keep him sharp and learning and get, because he wants to be fast tracking himself without going like now. The JoJo's route was crazy, I thought, but I mean, you got to keep going like that and going quicker. Going always, this fight's got to be next step. You have that first fight to it. You have the first 3 or 4 fights. You should have been boxing 3 or 4 fights in 3 months. So you should have had knocking over anyone just to make him look fantastic. The new heavyweight, he's Olympic medalist, he's going to be the king of the world. Bam, look at him, bam, everyone's asleep, and then step him up straight away, and then go, he's not if he's boxing at the level now. Most people are fighting in their 15th fight, he's boxing him in his 4th because he's Fraser Clarke, the Olympic medalist, and then like that. But it hasn't been like that. He's been boxing people who you would box who Fabio Wardley should be boxing. That's the truth. And Wardley just gone, I'll take this test or this test because there's no pressure on me. No one knows how good I am. Everyone just thinks I'm a white collar boxer, and he was, and and he got loads of frailties, he makes loads of mistakes. But he's one of the most reactive fighters we have in this country. Yeah. He's like a reactive fighter is like Nigel Benn was a reactive fighter. So whatever ability they have, when they're hurt, they react with ferociousness. Yeah, that's their first thought. Now that can get you put to sleep, but also certainly in that division, but also when you're athletic like Fabio Wardley is, it can get you out of trouble. So against Nathan Gorman, he was hurt, and Fraser Clarke will hurt him, guarantee it. Like Fraser Clarke's not going to find an impossible target to hit Fabio Wardley. Fabio Wardley's hittable. And Clarke can punch. I don't think people thinking that Wardley's looks like the punch in this fight, and I think he is overall because the way he commits to every shot. But Fraser Clarke can punch. He was foolish thinking he couldn't, and because he has better technique, he might get there first. Where Wardley might swing a shot in, he might walk onto a shot, get put to sleep. But I think he might walk onto a shot, get hurt. But the problem is there with Fraser Clarke, he'll land with a good shot and know he's landed with a good shot and stay nice and tight, but he won't react automatically and go, whoa, I got him. He'll go bam, and he'll think like you should do. But as he's thinking, I think Wardley will go wow, and wing him in because that's how he fights. And that's what happened
in the Gorman fight.
Yeah. It happened in a lot of his fights. Happened in the Gorman fight. It happened in the Nick Webb fight. Got buzzed early in that fight, and then that was
Molina.
Molina as well.
So losing that fight. He's such a reactive fighter that once he gets hurt, he's at his most dangerous. And when he's on the brink of maybe he walks that tightrope to get him knocked out to get the victory. And he didn't see it against Adelaide, but because Adelaide couldn't get to him. But I mean, and I think he froze a little bit. I think actually Adelaide, which was quite surprising for me. But I think Wardley's a favourite. I do. I fancy him to win. I can't believe I'm saying this because I'd always go with the guy who's the more schooled fighter. But I just think we haven't seen enough from Clarke, and this is I just think he hasn't been in this fight like this before. I know, forget about the amateurs. I know he's done that. I know he's done the 5 rounds. And that was a long time ago now, and it's different because they're all thinking fighters there. This is a proper fight where he's gonna. And I'm not saying he hasn't got the mettle or the fortitude. He probably has, but in this division, that doesn't always help you because everyone can knock you out. And the fact that I just think Wardley would just commit to every punch. Unless he walks onto one, I just think he gets the Clarke. I do. I think it might take him a while, and this still he might. I don't know, sure, but fast. I think it's Clarke sensibly should try and use his ability and not box him. But I do think that, though you sort of mentioned, I think those early rounds where Wardley does make massive mistakes, I think Clarke should commit himself and go for it. Cause also it's a Sunday night and I want to get home early.
No,
but I mean, it's.
I think there's going to be openings for Fraser Clarke, and if you look at the fight, you think he'll start. Fraser Clarke, it will suit him to try and wear Wardley down, take him out early, take him out late, or try and win on points. But I think there's an opening early for him.
And also Clarke hasn't had that. I think those rounds with Rack are very important for him.
I do as well. I think they're getting overlooked. I think Fraser Clarke in general is being overlooked in this fight.
Yeah, generally, so. Even though I pick him all, I'm no way overlooking him. But I'm just in case you're trying to fight. No. But I mean, they'll be right. I do. They think got Wardley because he'll knock him out, and I think he might. But I think, we haven't seen Clarke tested yet on the chin. I don't know how well he takes a punch. I mean, he might have a Joyce chin. Who has a Joyce chin? Which version? Yeah, I know. Ooh, he's not on your podcast. Be coming on.
Yeah, he won't come on us anyway.
Yeah, you don't want, No one wants, He's horrible, isn't he? But I mean, I think. I just think Wardley. I think he's just got more experience at this level as a professional, and there is a difference between amateur and professional. There is a difference, and I just think that it might be the telling factor that he just will, just because he's so reactive, he will commit. And I think the fact that Fraser Clarke is institutionalized in the right way, the way how he boxes sensibly and cleverly, and and thinking about his work, I think that might hinder him, which is a stupid thing to say. But in this sort of fight, I think he might catch. I'll say it again. I'll say the same thing again. He might catch Wardley with a good shot, but then think before he really commits. But Wardley just will react like that straight away, and I think that's where the jeopardy lies for Clarke. It has the potential to be a great fight. I mean, it could be heavyweights could be.
It could be hugging each other.
Absolute stinker, couldn't it? But I think it'll be a really real firecracker, and I reckon it's like a 6-7 round fight. I do.
That would be wonderful. What do you think happens?
Good, well done. You love it. No one does that. Do
no.
You always
no,
beg
yeah,
for
it's
it.
good. Yeah, thanks, Dick. I was thinking about Mikhail Lawal actually at the time.
But Andy Clarke would never do that.
I think this is a genuine 50-50 fight. But I think if someone's going to dominate this fight, I expect it to be Fraser Clarke.
Yeah.
If someone goes out there and dominates the fight en route to a whatever stoppage, and that's not to discount how dangerous Fabio Wardley is, because obviously he's going to be dangerous for as long as he's in there, and he's shown that in the past. But we've seen him struggle in, admittedly, microcosms of fights. The Nathan Gorman fight, Gorman did the nose, I think, in the first round, and there was shots that landed there, and that, with respect to Nathan Gorman, wasn't the best version of him, and I don't think the best version of him is as good as even the version we've seen of Fraser Clarke so far. So I do expect Fraser Clarke to really win most of the rounds. It's just whether or not Fabio Wardley can knock him out, which I think there's a good chance that he can. We'll do predictions towards the end, but for me, I think it's essential that Wardley starts well, has a good start to the fight. I think that if Clarke can find the rhythm early and starts touching him with a jab, and Wardley, because the experience thing for me is interesting, and I agree with everything that you've said, both of you, but the Michael Coffey fight was very interesting, and then it got stopped. And I didn't think it was really the right time to stop the fight. I think Wardley would have got to him down the line, but he didn't, and we didn't get to see that fight play out. The Nathan Gorman fight was kind of like, it was a brilliant fight, like a ferocious fight, but again, Gorman not in the best of shape, and that was already a kind of at the stage where Gorman, with respect, wasn't kind of considered much of a contender, sort of post-Dubois, that sort of version of him. And then you go through the rest of the...
Cut him and hurt him though, didn't he? Gorman cut Wardley.
Did the nose in the first round, and and fair play to Wardley, because coming from the experience that he's got in the background,
he reacts to that with
he does. But if the fight doesn't, like the Coffey fight went, I mean, obviously he got to Gorman, but if he can't get to Clarke, and I do expect Clarke to be able to manage the fight so much better than the other people that Wardley have been in with. Yeah.
It's just that
the closer the fights come, the more I favoured Clarke. I have to say, like the more I've looked at it, the more I've liked
you sort
Clarke
of
in the
should,
fight.
really, because ability-wise, like natural boxing ability, or what you learned, and then he has more in his locker for that thing. But I do think
that X factor explosiveness is with Wardley,
and also all these fights you talk about, what could have happened.
Didn't.
He has that thing to find a way. So so when he does get caught and hurt and buzzed or cut or whatever, he doesn't let it affect him. He doesn't change his tact, which might be naive in some respects. But what I mean, it's his commitment to want to be aggressive. and he is athletic. He is smooth with his punches. So, but he makes loads of mistakes. And this would be the most technical fight that he's come up against. So you're right. All those mistakes he makes might be a nightmare for him, because Clarke can move his feet a little bit better than we've seen as a pro. I think mainly. Then he could be bam bam in and out with a jab and just like making Wardley fling shots in, just making him miss by an inch all the time. He could do that, but we just haven't seen him in any. We haven't seen Clarke in any sort of real firefight yet, have we? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, we haven't, Wardley has had to work things out against. If you go back and look through,
wait actually.
Eric Molina, Nick Webb, Nathan Gorman. Coffey was giving him some things to think about. I think it wasn't in the same ilk as those other fights. But I do feel that they're significantly below what I think Fraser Clarke is still. And that's also bearing in mind of the last couple of years as a pro where he hasn't set the world alight. But I also think that, and this, I mean, you don't agree because I've just listened to what you've said. I think for 8 fights, Mariusz Vac, Bogdan Dinu, Kevin Espindola, Kamil Sokolowski, Ariel Bracamonte, I don't think that's terrible for 8 fights in. I have to say,
no, but my
4 fights in 2022, 4 fights in 2023.
No, you should have more fights.
Sure, but there's. I mean, I don't know how many.
I think my whole thing with that is
he could have racked that up in 18 months.
He should have been. So there
also hasn't been there hasn't been the shows. But okay, so let's say rather than that 8-0, it's 10-0.
No, for whatever reasons that. But I think the whole thing is, I think like, for where he is, for winning a medal in the Olympics.
He did 3 Olympic cycles with GB.
Yeah.
He's fucking done it all.
Yeah.
So then
and I think those
to slow it down.
And I think those 10 rounds against Mariusz Vac, while never ever should be headlining a Sky show, particularly in the middle of summer in York Hall, because that just made things even more painful for everybody. They're valuable rounds, extremely valuable rounds.
That fight shouldn't be top of the bill. That's all. That should be like.
There was one that was pulled in the week. It was Adam Azim and somebody that was supposed to be headlining.
But I mean that for a learning experience, that's great for him.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like for 10 awkward, difficult
absolutely
rounds?
Exactly. And I think like this notion that he's not been tested at all or he's not had any tests as a pro, I just don't agree with it. I think
but for what his resume, when you put the resume in front of you to the opposition or the lack of fights, you just go right. I just sort of said like put him on every single show. That's what I was saying before. I said it quite about Ben Whittaker. I put him on so many shows on Sky that literally you don't call it Sky Boxing, you call it Whittaker Boxing. Every time you put Sky on, who's Whittaker Boxing tonight?
Isn't it?
Yeah,
well,
we've spoke about this before.
Yeah, but I don't care about the financial. I mean, if you want to produce if you want to cash out on your star, maybe you take that risk. I don't know. It's easy for me to say. I'm not paying the money, am I? But I mean,
having kind of waffled around all of those points, I do feel like
I think it's going to be a draw.
No, I feel like that X factor of Wardley, and for as long as he's in there, he's going to be dangerous. And we've seen, arguing against my own point, we've seen Clarke do 10 rounds against Mariusz Vac, but you know, Vac is sort of certainly that version of him just doesn't have the ambition to win the fight anymore. You know, whereas Wardley's going to have the ambition to win the fight. So,
but like, listen, I'm watching it all, and in my mind,
let us know what happens so we can get the predictions right.
I'm getting the word. No. But there you go. Cut that one. No need to cut that one. But I could see Wardley like this on the ropes, knackered as well, in like wrong dates, and Clarke stopping him as well. I can see that. But if I gotta go for somebody, I'm gonna go for Wardley by a stoppage even. But in that division, that's no shame because everyone's like, you know, most people in that division, when they get beat, they get stopped. Yeah. Because of the size of them.
Yeah.
It's a wicked fight. It really is because it has that thing where whoever you're picking, you're not quite sure,
not confident at all.
I think if Fraser Clarke can get him working, then that he's explosive Wardley, and he's fast twitch. It's all reactive, trying to throw big shots every time. If Fraser Clarke can get him working and get him tiring and put pressure on, suddenly the power's sapped from those shots and from those forays, and then he's knackered by 8-9, and then Clarke's still there, disciplined, might be able to take him out then. And then he's on the ropes, like you say. You know,
got to make him miss. That's the secret. Continuously miss. Because if you think about the tiredness of bringing those arms back, especially with those big guys, especially when you commit to your shots, you bring your whole body into it, and you get no satisfaction in touching the target, and also you're bringing it back from a further distance. It tires you out. It's the mental stimulation and the panic. Fuck, I missed again. And then you don't want to throw that shot because you keep missing with the same shot. However thick you are, I'm not saying he's thick, but you just in the end your brain's telling you don't do that, and you might do it anyway, but then your whole body's fighting against itself. So you start tensing up and tying yourself out in that way because I've got to commit myself, but I know it's the wrong thing.
You don't train to miss either, do you? You're not in the gym missing shots.
You never miss the pads or the bag, do you? You never miss the bag. You never miss the pads. You hit it every time. Well, there's evidence of Tyson Fury missing the bag, but he punched himself in the face in a fight once, didn't he? But I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, you get that satisfaction of hitting the shot or hitting the thing all the time. But yeah, it's so you can see that. But I just think the fact that when he's hurt. Because I don't think Clarke has that same click-on mentality to want to take that risk to finish you straight. What he'll do is sensibly, if he's hurt you, I think, might be wrong with that. You might see the dog in him, who knows, isn't it? And I think with that, Wardley will still fire. And I think that's where he might get into trouble. I think off his success is where Wardley, off Clarke's success, is where Wardley might win the fight, ironically.
Yeah, it makes sense. And there is, I still don't think there's a huge amount of evidence on both fighters, I have to say.
Yeah, true.
But the evidence that we do have of Wardley is just that.
Yeah.
But for me as well, like even just like running through both of their resumes now, like again, wary to be respectful for fighters that have come before them. But like this is Adelaide, I'm quite sure would have gone into the fight thinking he's going to win the fight and wanting to win the fight, but when he got in there, he didn't really show that side of himself. Whereas I feel like this is probably the first time, again, with respect to the guys, that they're boxing somebody who, I believe 100% that both guys feel they're going to win the fight.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I could say that for the fighters that they've boxed beforehand.
I don't know. Can I just say this though? I think for Wardley, because he had no real experience, so he had no ambitions where he's going to go. And also, even though he's going in like the guy with the promoter's fighter, but Gorman goes in that fight, really think he's going to win. Okay, well, it might be the best Gorman we've ever seen, but I mean, he goes in that fight, I think he's going to win because you think, who's Clarke, who's Wardley boxed, and he hasn't boxed as an amateur. Look, well, I was a good amateur and I'd be the good pro, and I fell short against Dalton Dubois, but look how good he's WBA regular champion or whatever he was at the time, gold champion, whatever they call it. But
it was regular.
There you go. But
world champ, mate.
So it means nothing whatever he gets. But I mean, but I mean, what I mean is, so you think I'm a more school boxing him, and I think a lot of fighters have been in with that sort of same lookout with Wardley, and every fight for Wardley has been that fight where he's not quite sure if he's good enough to beat them because he don't know. Clarke, every fight Clarke's had, he knows how good he is because of what he's done as an amateur. So he knows that if he's fit and if he can box the best of his ability, he's better than them. And same as this fight, by the way, he knows that technically he's better than Wardley. So if he can box, if he can establish himself at his best, he should beat Wardley because of what he'd been able to do as an amateur and as over those 5 rounds. And even as a pro a little bit, but he hasn't really shown his star quality, I don't think, as a pro. So every fight Wardley, it's what I'm trying to say is training for those fights where you have that edge or that nervousness about, I don't know how good, because Wardley never know how good he was every fight. He didn't, did he? Every fight he's just going in freely because I don't know how good I am. And the Adelaide fight was a fine example. That was a fight where a lot of people fancied Adelaide because he's better at the ground than you have. And again, you don't know how good you are. You look good when you're bashing people up, but you get hurt quite a lot. You can get hit, and even though you find a way to win. I'm going against what I've said now, but you still.
There are two sides to it, though.
Yeah, you still get hit.
Sure,
so so every fight he trains for every fight with that fear that this might be the one that I get found out. Where Clarke hasn't had that same, even though haven't had awful opposition, but he's gone in the favour for every fight, and he's known he's the favourite for every fight. He's gone in thinking, if I just do my best, I'm better than him, and I will win. And this one will be the first fight where he goes, this is a proper danger fight. This is how he copes with that. Now he's done as an amateur.
I was going to say, having that mentality, and obviously I understand like the actual physical nature of the sport is different from amateurs to pro, but having the mentality of boxing, top level amateurs and going into that, would that, I mean, you would think it still would stand him in some sort of good stead.
It does. And I box as I've got to go back to myself. I don't feel like try doing it, but it's easy to
it's easier than us doing it. It's fine,
the first time you wrote for the school Gazette.
Yeah. And I do remember actually. I had to review a Cornish pasty. Carry on.
Barry Jones, Acelino Freitas fight report.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah.
But no, what I mean is so then so you have, if you don't have a test for such a long time, which I mean that sort of fearful training camp, a fear for a fight for such a long time, you can forget what it feels like. I think so.
His last one was the Olympic final, wasn't it?
That first one where you just know,
sorry, Olympic semi-final.
Yeah, But that's so I think if he after this 4-5 he gets a test. I just don't think he's had that. I think there's been too many gaps in his pro career for him to get comfortable with himself. That's the worry for me. I'm not slagging him off for that. It's just that's how I think it's transpired for him.
I think the fact
he's been frustrated by it.
I think it's the longer we talk, the more interesting the fight gets, and it's because there are imperfections and holes in the other's game, or like there's evidence of it, but if you pick away at the evidence and you can interpret it this way or that way, and it's part of the reason what makes it such a great fight. They haven't shown themselves, I mean, rarely fighters do, but they haven't shown themselves to be the complete package yet. There's the things that you still need answers to from both of them, which is one of the reasons why it makes it such a good fight.
They both taken different routes to the same destination. That's pretty much, they both massively different routes. Like one route never existed.
When the other one started.
There was no such thing as what he was doing there. Like the route he's taken, Wardley, is uniquely fucked up, but Clarke has done the right route, and the more difficult route to get there as an amateur, because you got to be fucking really good to do what he's done, really good. Not just even at that weight where power sometimes can negate ability. But I mean, still to get what he's done, that takes a lot of skill, dedication, application, all that stuff. All the right things you need to be a champion. And Wardley's just wandered in from whatever he's done, white collar stuff.
Suffolk.
It's madness, isn't it? But he comes to this fight now, the more wronged as a professional.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
He's the guest columnist in the Boxing News this week. Fabio Wardley. Very interesting stuff in there. But one of the things he said, spoiler alert, is that when he was just starting out, he would look at the O2 and shows like that and just think, one day, like the back end of my career, I'll be 8th on the card in fighting for the English title or something. That was his ceiling.
If he's lucky.
That's what he said. He said, that's what I imagine I'll do, because the people he was around and whatnot, nobody was on the O2. He was like, maybe one day I'll get there. Now he's boxed there more than any other arena on his career. And now, what is he, 29 or something? After 12 fights. And he's headlining the thing.
He's only young, isn't he?
Yeah, he had no idea. That was his seat. That's what he thought was going to become of him. So every time, all of this is this roll of a dice is just it's a bit similar to Chris Smith, where it was put him up a level, see what he does, completes it. Put him up a level, see what he does, completes it. And he's done that.
We don't talk about Chris Smith on this podcast.
But it's and
yes, it's true, isn't it? Just
it's almost like all of this is a bonus to him.
And that's why he fights that way.
Yeah.
Freely, because no
Yeah.
pressure on me. Everyone's expecting me to who the fuck are you? He just turned up from nowhere. He did from white collar boxing, for God's sake, or whatever it was, unlicensed boxing. Sorry, whatever they two different things, isn't it? So he had no pressure on him. So he fights like a man with no pressure, just commits to everything.
Do you think there's any pressure on him in this fight?
Yeah.
Could it be different now?
He's a champ.
Who's the pressure on in this fight?
It's Clarke still, I think. I still think Clarke, because if he can't beat Wardley, then Sky pull the plug on him. I think, because there's a lot. I don't know how much money they've invested in Clarke, but I imagine imagine getting paid good money per fight. I would have thought he better be. He's an Olympic medalist, but and a heavyweight. But they'll go. I don't know if there's a clause in his contract that if you get beat by a certain level, we can just renegotiate, and that'll be he might not want to box after what they're going to offer him if he gets beat. I think the pressure's on him, because his career goes from being it's life changing money for him. I think it is, and more for Wardley, because Wardley won't get a world. Look, they won't be talking about Wardley fighting world titles if he bashes Clarke up. They'll go, oh, he's really good. I don't know if I'm right about this, but I mean, if Clarke turns up and demolishes Wardley, they'll go, there you go. That's the promise that we've been waiting to see. This is the star that we told you he was going to be. But Wardley, no one's told us he was going to be a star. He just turns up for fights and goes, we'll see how good I am. So he is pressure, but he's feeling the pressure for the first time. He must do, because the fact that, and more so just the way he beat Adelaide in the biggest purse for a British title fight, wasn't
the richest British title fight.
So you've seen that, but he's seen that glimpse of money now, so he knows where he's at. He might not be getting paid the same for this, but he's getting good money for it, and so he's feeling I'm a champion now. I am good now. He knows he's good for the first time, and that's you put a pressure on yourself then, because you actually realise he'll have ambition. That's a different. He got ambition now. He might not fight the same. It might ruin him. His success might ruin him, because now he's fighting thinking, I could maybe get a world title shot all of a sudden. You look different. Once you start winning stuff, you start believing in yourself. Whereas before, he was just going in and going, whoa, let's see what happens, roll the dice, I don't give a fuck. And Fraser Clarke, from the day one, he's had when he turned pro, it's I want to be a world champion. It's just when I do it, how am I going to do it? And the frustration that he hasn't got it already, probably. So when was his Olympics?
2021 it was.
Yeah.
Because the delay.
Yeah. He would have looked. He would have wanted to be a world title before the new one.
I always say that. I always say that. You got to if you unbox for a world title before the next Olympics, that you either been beat, or there's a reason why, and it's usually because they're holding you back because they don't think you're good enough already or whatever, or there's a pandemic.
Yeah,
Let's not forget that.
And he also he had a pretty bad hand injury as well, which hampered his first year as a pro.
But either way, the frustration that he hasn't got close to it now, got to be for him. Like,
I think he'll be wound up as well.
Yeah. No one's screaming his name.
That people think that of him, and also think that a white collar fighter can beat him, because from all of his credentials as an amateur. I think he said words to the effect at the announcement press conference, like, people like talk about your white collar stuff, like, I've done it the proper way, and I've got to show people like this is the way that you really do it, and that brings its own reputation
of the sport on his back. Yeah. But to be honest, Wardley's not a white collar boxer anymore.
No, he's not.
A long time that was a long time ago. He is a genuine talent. He's a genuine boxer, and he's proved that because the risks he's taken, the fighters he's fought, for his ability, for his level. No, there's not so you can match the fighters like him and Clarke are box and go, well, there's not that much difference. But comparing who they were, there's a huge difference.
Yeah, it shows a very unique ability in that regard for Fabio Wardley.
They've matched him so brave, I think.
So I've had that. We've spoke about it a few times. One of the bizarre things about his kind of career was that Eric Molina fight in March of 2021, where he went Simon Vallily, Richard Larty. He was great, if I remember him.
He boxed Dubai, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think it was a different Larty though. Same name.
When he came over, everyone's like, "Is that the same guy?"
He's falling his shoulder, wasn't he?
Ebenezer Tete around that time. That was
no, it was a Teddy. Maybe
Larty was because when Larty come back to box Wardley,
he was Ebenezer Teddy.
Everyone was looking at him going, "Is that the same guy?" Anyway, that Eric Molina fight was kind of, again, Eric Molina, and this is 2021, so it's like, okay,
isn't it?
Yeah, but it's sort of like you've got Vallily, Larty, Eric Molina, who get like former world title challenger, 2-time world title challenger, and then down to Nick Webb and then Daniel Martz. It's sort of like his career is not, and we've spoken about this several times in the past about Wardley, it hadn't had that kind of steady increment really until the last 3 fights, I think, which was Gorman, Michael Coffey, but even that was a late replacement. He only had that on a week and a half, 2 weeks notice. Yeah. And then David Adelaide.
No, but even Nick Webb, for some of Wardley, Nick Webb should have beat Wardley on paper, to be honest. No, Nick Webb, I've seen Nick Webb go toe-to-toe in Feltham Leisure Centre. Against Joe Joyce. Yeah. It's a brilliant fight. They just battered each other. Well, Joyce won in the end, but I mean, what I mean is he's been good operators as an amateur and showed a bit of promise as a pro. So that was a real test for Wardley. It wouldn't have been a test for Clarke. Because of who he was, it's funny, isn't it? It's mad. It's a unique sort of build up to this fight because it's hard to gauge them both because they gauge them on where they've come from. Yeah, so Clarke has the harder judgment because of who he is.
Every fight has plenty of intangibles, and this one has more than you. And
your success makes people judge you harsher. So Clarke can't feel sorry for himself because he's been successful as an amateur, which means people are going to judge him more harshly on how he produces, how he wins, how he wins fights, and who he's boxed, and why haven't he boxed this guy? But Wardley gets a pass because he come from nowhere. That's just life. So, but that's the price to pay for success. So Clarke, don't feel sorry for yourself. That's you've done that, but now this is your night to turn up now, and we haven't seen you. You haven't had a night. You haven't had a night where you really had to turn up since the Olympics. That's the truth for him. Where Wardley's had a few of those in his career because of who he was, and that's where that experience as a pro does lie with Fabio Wardley.
I've changed my mind on this fight about 5 times in the last 20 minutes.
Who did I pick again?
We're nearly there.
Anyway, we wanted to get 2, and if we could, maybe 3 or 4 previews in. I think we're going to stick with 1. But anyway, it's okay. But also, this is a measure of just how this is this weekend, or there's not even this weekend. It starts on Wednesday night. There's like Pro Box card on Wednesday night, and then there's shows like every night of the week: Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because we all love working on bank holiday weekends. But anyway, yeah, it's kind of indicative of just how much high quality boxing is. But all of it, like Saturday's going to be unbelievable, man. Like, I mean, not unbelievable enough for us to apparently preview it on the show, but still, like,
it's going to be good.
Card.
Tune in.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Like, score it on the app, the live score card. Get your predictions in. Anyway, right, let's talk about some of the undercard. Deck, I'm going to come to you for our cruiserweight offering. Barry, shut up. Vidal Riley against Mikel Lawal. Very interesting fight. I mean, yeah, the biggest step up in the career of unbeaten prospect, star of the future, YouTube sensation Vidal Riley against the guy Mikel Lawal, who I think it's fair to say didn't really show the best of himself against Isaac Chamberlain.
Yeah, he was disappointing that night. I'm sure he disappointed himself more than anyone else, but he just kind of didn't turn up. But Isaac boxed really well though as well that night. But until then, Lawal had a almost like reasonably serene sort of cruise to the top of the domestic scene anyway. Barely put a foot wrong, and then he loses that fight. So then there's the intrigue there. It's like, how does he come back from that? He's obviously, his backstory is incredible. So, you know, he's unbelievably resilient. I'm pretty sure he'd be fine. But then you're like, well, how good is Vidal Riley? Because we don't really know. I remember we had Elisoro on our podcast, go and listen to it. It was great. But he said, he sparred them all. And he said, Vidal Riley's the best one. He's the best one. I'm sure Elisoro says Jai Patai's the best one now. But but like he said that time, Vidal Riley's the best, like talent-wise and in the gym, he's the best. But that only takes you so far, doesn't it? You need everything else. And I don't know what it is about Vidal Riley, because he obviously has all the talent in the world and he has this unbelievable profile, etc., etc. But you sort of think, what's going on? There's something not quite right, or something missing. It might be that he's too expensive or something like that, because I just don't feel we haven't seen enough of him quite. He had Anis Taj boxed him twice and you're like, what are you doing that for? And that he could be further on, a bit like with Fraser Clarke. He could be further on in his career based on his talent, based on what he's got, than what he is now. And what it has is landed him in this fight against a once beaten, tough puncher in Mikel Lawal. And you sort of haven't got much to go by when you're trying to find a route to him to win. But in the back of your head, you're still going, I still fancy Riley to be good enough to win this fight. So it's a beautifully intriguing fight. I don't know exactly where I land on it, but if Lawal shows up, that's a fucking long. It could be a long night for Riley.
Yeah. It does feel, Barry, though, like a bit of a big if for Lawal. I was quite, as you mentioned there, Deck. I'm sure he was very disappointed as well. I'm sure he doesn't care what I think, but was disappointed with what he didn't do really against Isaac Chamberlain. And Isaac Chamberlain now certainly obviously had that great fight with Chris William-Smith, who's gone on to become world champion. So it kind of shows you where he's at. He is that sort of European level type guy, and I think the experience of Isaac Chamberlain, despite being relatively young himself, sort of went over and stuck it on Lawal straight away, and never really allowed him into the fight. But Vidal Riley doesn't, as Dex says, have that experience as a pro that Isaac Chamberlain had. He had the Okoli fight, who, by the way, Okoli's chief sparring partner for that, Vidal Riley.
Yeah.
So what do you think that we're going to see from Vidal Riley? Because he's never been hit by a big hitter. Like Isaac Chamberlain could walk at Mikel Lawal knowing that he'd done 12 hard rounds of Chris William-Smith. Okay, the Okoli fight was an absolute eyesore, but he had to take a lot of shots in that fight from a big puncher at the time. Dropped. Yeah, he's dropped twice.
And he's done the rounds.
Exactly. Whereas, as good and as talented as we certainly think that Vidal Riley is, he's not shown that yet.
He hasn't. My only little worry about Riley is he's a boxer who does YouTube. I think that he's always been a boxer. It's just his other job gives him a bigger profile. I think that's what it is. And people to say he's a YouTuber. He's not the same. He's not another one of those.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. But either way, it does have a feel of like he's not playing with the game, but waiting around, using this as, and it's not. He's probably not, but it feels like, because there's been not an urgency to build him properly. I don't think that it's like he's just waiting around for something to catapult him to do something else. Do you know what I mean? Like this pro career it's like pro boxing is a stepping stone for him to go somewhere else. I don't know what, like be an actor, so I don't know. It's making things up, but it doesn't seem like he's like they're pushing him. Where's the next? They are now, obviously, but it seems this has been a long time coming. They should have been boxing more regular. I think maybe it is the money again. I don't know where they're getting paid, but I think he puts on a really good performance against Lawal. we haven't seen Riley really hurt or hit or continuously hit, and Lawal has the power, but he hasn't got the feet. And I think the feet in this fight will give Riley the massive advantage. I think he boxes rings round Lawal.
I also feel that Lawal does, and I think from his own admission for the Chamberlain fight, does struggle on the night with nerves. I mean, he's a guy who's not very experienced himself.
But when he throws his shots, so he squares himself up, he makes mistakes with that. So I thought with Chamberlain going at him, it might help Lawal actually, but didn't turn out that way. But I think
just didn't give him any opportunity to get any leverage on his shots. Isn't he? Lawal's like long, throws that big right hand.
Yeah, but it's too telegraphed, and you've got to be throwing. You got to sort of be throwing when you got to be throwing when you throw, and then hopefully and that gives him a chance. But I think Chamberlain. I think Riley will be quite clever and use the jab. He's a nice fluent boxer. He is. He's got lovely footwork. I think he's got pretty good boxing brain. I think as well. And this is a step up for him, but I think he copes with it quite well. I think once he bags a few rounds once he gets a few rounds in the bag, his confidence will be full of himself, and I think he'll relax, and Lawal will be chasing the fight. I think he wins quite conclusively.
From his own sort of his version of events, Vidal Riley obviously boxed a certain Chris Billam-Smith in the ABAs. I can't remember what year, but many moons ago. He's 26 now, and obviously you've got your CBSs of the world, 30s, early 30s, and kind of, not coming to the end of their career necessarily, but they are sort of in a way. And the way that he's always kind of spoken about it, Vidal, is that he's not of their generation, he's the generation behind, and it's kind of there's no need for him to rush and no need to sort of dive in with an Isaac Chamberlain or a CBS. Well, obviously, we can call Chamberlain out recently because he's got time on his side.
If he beats this guy though, then if he beats Lawal, then that's a sign that he should box Chamberlain next. I think. Why not? I think that's where you're at then. Especially if you can put on a better performance, if you can. I think why wait around if you're ready? I think this would be the fight that he thinks maybe I am ready to go the next step, and I can maybe chase Billam-Smith, because I said about Billam-Smith, he's been fantastic, and he's a really hard man to beat, but he still looks a beatable fighter. Just who's really hard to beat. That's the way I look at him. I think, and that's nothing. Like you said earlier on. He won a world title. And he's just like, just keep going like this. Like, I never thought when I started pro, I never thought I'd be here. He got to a point where he said, actually, I can get there, and he proved he could. But he's just like, I'm just going to keep going forward. See how high I can go now. It's been fantastic for him. It's been life changing. He's been brilliant, and he's a well deserved champion. And he gives anyone a hard fight. Anyone on the planet a hard fight. But he doesn't do anything fantastic, Billam-Smith either. So that makes him at that level beatable. Just a hard man. He's just very tough to do it against. So the ability that I don't think Riley beats him for, but I think the ability that Riley has. I think if I can beat Lawal, if I can beat Chamberlain, which is a hard ask in its own right, just to get that experience at that level, then maybe I go into the Billam-Smith fight, fancy my chances, because my ability, my movement, the smoothness in my punches, my speed, all those stuff, will give me an advantage in certain categories over Billam-Smith. But what Billam-Smith got is that that guy, he'll walk through if he has to, and he's a great engine, and he's tough, and he's tactically better than what people give him credit for, all those sort of things. But that's what you should be aiming for. And also, he might. How long is he going to keep this title for? You don't know. He might have it forever, but he might lose it in the next fight. So like that domestic. If you're ready, take it. That's madness not to think you could take it. Like 26, you've got time on your side, but you're still 26. So take the fight, innit? If it comes up, not yet, but I mean next year or year after, Billam's still champion, which it should be, depending who he fights. Listen, you. I think he's. I know. I'm worried. I don't know. Ganged up. I know you're all like. Well,
no, the Reapple fight. They make the Reapple.
I'm not slagging him off. I think he's been great. And I didn't give him a chance against Okoli, and he was fantastic against Okoli. One of the best fights to watch. But I thought he did everything right. And he's brave as well to fight like that against a guy who can really punch. Let's not forget that. And he didn't give a shit. And also he's sometimes when he doesn't box, he's proved already he's defensive, but he's not boxing great. You can find a way to win still, and that's a trait you can't teach. That just when you're having a good night, you keep digging in. You see somebody fighting have a good night and just feel sorry for themselves, and he just don't give a shit to get Bilham Smith. He looks like this guy who would crumble. You know, he looks like a proper middle class. He's not. I call him middle class all the time, don't I? But he looks that sort of type. He looks funny. He looks like Nicky. He's
a gentleman, isn't he?
He reminds me of Nicky Piper, the mentor.
Yeah.
But Nicky Piper was tough.
Yeah.
I mean, tough man.
That's a great comparison.
He's a real tough man, but he didn't look tough. He looked like a guy who should be your solicitor. Not your boxer. That's what he looked like. And he's a Mensa guy, Nicky Piper, wasn't he? Really intelligent guy. But he's from my area. He's from the outskirts of my council estate, Nicky Piper. So I knew Nicky growing up, of course. Like, he's a bit older than me, but he was like a role model for us all. But I mean, when it came to fights, he would stand there with anybody. Like him, go and watch him and Crawford Ashley have a fight. It was Crawford Ashley was a brilliant fighter, by the way. Brilliant. One of the best fighters not to win a world title for the UK, I think. And he was fantastic. The war they had, it was unbelievable. And the show how tough Nicky was. And all night watching him against Nigel Benn. But I think Bilham Smith reminds me of him. He doesn't look like he's going to be tough. But he's one of the toughest, isn't he? He's one of the toughest fighters we have in the country.
A lot of people would pick Vidal Riley to beat Bilham Smith, though. There would be people who pick him. There would be. I wouldn't.
But depends
when.
when.
But style-wise, there'd be people who would go, yeah, I fancy Vidal Riley.
If Vidal Riley can do, I mean, how many rounds is it? I was going to say, if he can do 12 rounds on Sunday, if you do 12 rounds on Sunday, it'd be fantastic. It's a 10-rounder.
Yeah.
But if he does 10 rounds at a good pace and wins 10 out of 10 rounds, then people will maybe look at that.
And if you look at Chamberlain, like I bumped into Chamberlain at the ABAs on Friday, and he was like, he's going to be there at the weekend. And he's like, you know, he could box someone like Mo Sislak. from the bar in Simpsons, or he could box Chevon Clarke. So you're looking at Isaac Chamberlain, Chevon Clarke, Vidal Riley, Mikhail Lawal. Like, Vidal Riley is well and truly arrived there, and he's only 26.
Yeah.
So like, you think, what's he when he's 30? But this is a fight that he needs to win and look well in, because that's busy, isn't it? And you can't afford to be at the back of the queue.
No.
And potentially, I think he can look really good in this fight. Though there's loads of danger there for him, because it might be a fight that he hasn't been in before. But I think his movement, and I think his boxing brain as well, I think might make it not a comfortable night, but a wide decision for him. But the whole thing was, I don't think he fights Chamberlain next now, Bilham Smith next, but that's where he should be looking.
Yeah.
In the near future, by the near future, I mean 2 years.
He never beats Bilham Smith now.
That's no,
he's miles off.
None of them do, I don't think, at the minute. Our domestic guys, you know, the closest one to him, I think, is Chevon Clarke. I think he looks a monster. He do.
Maybe, yeah. React poor, power.
Yeah, well, I think Chevon Clarke is the one. He's on his own, isn't he?
There we go.
Matchroom.
Impartial.
My matchroom tattoo. I had, just in case I shaved my chest into a matchroom M.
Well, okay. We've got about 10 minutes before Deck has to shoot. See, this is why you come third, man. This is late to work, early to play.
My son's sick.
That's a terrible excuse. Yeah. Anyway, Florian Marku versus
sick of you.
Florian Marku versus Chris Kongo is a fight that I've wanted to see for a long time.
Great fight.
I've wanted to see for. You remember when I think Marku ended up boxing Jamie Stewart? He ended up with he needed a last minute replacement, and Kongo at the time was kind of championing himself as the guy to step in. Obviously it didn't happen then, but we finally got there, and I'm really intrigued by this fight, because it's somebody in Chris Kongo, I think over the years we've sort of found what level he's at, which is a very good level. He's very close to beating Echo Esserman for the British title. Some people felt that he did win that fight, whereas Marku, we're still not really too sure. He's clearly heavy-handed, but hasn't really boxed at anywhere near the level of a Chris Kongo, and there's a lot of mistakes that he makes.
Not busy either.
No, so
as in no momentum.
It's a very, very. I've
been like this with this fight.
I was very surprised that Team Marku took this fight, I have to say, purely because of, we all know that he's a good ticket seller, and he has good fanfare and what have you. But in somebody, Barry, in Chris Kongo, you kind of look at the things that Chris Kongo does well, and ignoring the things that he maybe doesn't do so well, and put that in comparison to the things that Marku doesn't do so well. And I think this fight, I do favour Chris Kongo in this fight.
Because I think he can make him pay quite comfortable, you think. But I thought this about a few Marku fights where I think, he's going to get his ears boxed off. And he just proves you wrong, doesn't he? Because he doesn't look, he looks like, he got longer arms, by the way, than his body should have, Marku, by the way, so keep that factor. So you think Kongo's going to have so much reach advantage, and he will, but it won't be huge. Because he got, I've got his Marku. Knuckle dragger he is. And then imagine my brother was like that, like only 5'9", he had arms like a 6'3" guy. He'd hit you from across the room. But he just keeps beating guys who I think should have been better. He should have outboxed him. That's not keeps, like he hadn't boxed a wealth of talent, but he beats people. I think he looks beatable every time I watch him. I think he boxes his ears off. But he finds it a way. So I think I can see him. I can see Kongo punching, leaning back, and getting clipped with a big overhand right or something, or a long looping left hook off Marku and unraveling. I can see that. But ultimately, I do think that Kongo, if he keeps his discipline, should make him pay for most of the fight and then just cling on, I think, in the later rounds. Or not the later rounds, those late to middle rounds, a little bit, cling on where Marku has a real push and does get close. And then Marku might run out of gas a bit in the last few rounds where Kongo just pick the points up. So I think I fancy Kongo on points. But I've been a little bit like, because Marku keeps proving me wrong all the time, that's why. Well, no, maybe he's better than what I actually think he is. Because when you look at him, he does nothing conventional, nothing great. He looks too easy to hit. No, but he keeps winning. So sometimes you think some of those fighters, you just go, maybe they have some of that raw strength. There's more power in the punches than it looks. Because it doesn't look like a big puncher to me, but he's hurting people, isn't he?
Yeah, every time.
Do you know what I mean? But he doesn't look like a. So he might have heavy hands, you know. I just, yeah.
He's a strong man, I think.
Yeah.
He's a physically stronger guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for a boxer, that never scares you.
Yeah.
The power doesn't really scare. The power scares you if they got fast hands with power. That's the worst thing for a boxer. With the strength is not even an issue because you
won't be near them.
You're used to moving. Yes, you want it to be the stronger they are, the quicker they're going to rush at you. The more mistakes they can make. So you can olay them all the time. That's what you look to do. That's why the pivot's my favourite word. Because like you woof, when you go woof, off you go. You're gone then. And you go pop, 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 pop. And you frustrate them. And the more you frustrate them, the harder they try. The more tense they become. The more tense they become, the slower they are. The harder they try to be faster, they get slower because all the body works against them. And then they tire out. And that's what you want. It's the punches with fast hands you worry about. That's that when you're a boxer. That's because
Marku ain't that.
No, I don't think
I think
he
that
is.
what you've just described is what this fight's going to emerge as. I think this could be like a 10-2, one of those sorts of fights.
But there will be rounds where Marku has
8-2, yeah. Or no, more like a 9-1. Yeah, but one of them where Marku might have success, but it really, do you know what it's going to come down to? How switched on Chris Kongo can stay,
and if and when Marku gets to him, can he hold the shot?
Yeah, can he hold? Yeah.
And the physical strength factor. I mean, if he does, I say that's what I prefer, but maybe not for someone like Kongo. No, he might want to show a bit. He might want to show a bit. See that the Egan is not like someone like Kongo who's on the peripherals of. No, he's not a Sky fighter, is he? But but he's
boxed on Sky.
Yeah, but he's not their guy, is he? You know what I mean? So he might. There's always an eagerness on more than ever before to not just to win, to impress. And that might be, if you're boxing a guy, you think, I'm a boxing now, and they go, start putting some pressure on him. You fucking just win 9-1.
Yeah.
Don't win, win 9-1. Don't win 6-4 and then get bashed up, or don't be 7 rounds up and then try and push it and get knocked out. Don't give him an opening. You got to just close the shop. Got to be disciplined and don't worry about it. Just win.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the performance. I mean, you want to look great if you can, but that's on him to make the fight look good. That's what I used to think. I mean, a good fight. If he makes it a good fight, I'm trying to make it a shit fight.
Yeah, exactly
it's on him to make it a good fight.
It very much favours Kongo.
That's why I earned millions.
Inactivity an issue for either guy. I mean, Chris Kongo hasn't boxed since the Echo Esselman fight, which was January of 2023. Marku has boxed less than a round since August of 2022.
It's a minute.
Yeah,
that
54 seconds against Dylan Moran.
I think it's a.
Who does that impact more? Does it impact the boxer more?
Usually, I would say I usually say the boxer than that, but I think for this one it might be Marku because he hasn't done. He's only done less than a round.
54 seconds.
Yeah, so he hasn't really boxed for longer than that. Where was the fight before that? That's when really
August 2022, which is the fight they had in Albania where he got dropped heavily in that fight.
Nearly 2 years ago.
Yeah. But again, having said that, Chris Kongo hasn't boxed in a year. His last fight before that was in the June of following. So you got two guys here who are not. One would think, one would think not at their absolute best.
It's madness, isn't it? Yeah, but I think Kongo will find a way. As long as he stays disciplined, but there's always going to be a danger he gets caught like leaning back or just trying to, or if he tries to push forward a bit. Marku, and again, but I keep getting it wrong with Marku, so maybe just maybe I'm his lucky charm.
There's some animosity there as well, so it depends how it heats up during fight week and presser and the weight, and can Chris Kongo deal with that, because how will it? Because Marku's a fucking he's a tough guy.
Yeah, he gets into an argument in an empty room.
Whereas Kongo, it's going to require him to keep a cool head.
Yeah,
and if he doesn't, then it might play into Marku.
Yeah, because if you're Marku, you want him to stand there and have
100%.
But Kongo should get into it.
Yeah, bully him back.
No, not in the ring. I mean, in the build-up.
Exactly. Yeah.
Get into it so he looks like he's ruffled, and again in the ring, and just be massively disciplined. So you wronged him at the guy going, I got him. He's going to come out. He's going to, once I put it on him, he's going to fire back, and we're going to be in a war. And and that's what he wants to, doesn't he? Marku wants that, because then you'll think, well, if I hit my power, I got more power than you. If I can hit you, I can hurt you. And then you just see discipline, and all of a sudden he goes, whoa, he's steely focused now. Because they shouldn't, all this psychological shit, like if you get, it drives me mad, it does. I don't see how you get affected by a fighter looking at you or saying something to you 3 months before, or even a day before. Yeah. Like, you can lose a fight on the night before the fight when you go to bed and you think, oh shit. Or in the changing room when you go, or walking to the ring, or when you're in the ring and you're waiting for the announcements, then that's the horrible, they're all horrible parts of a fight where you it's fucking real, this, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, whoever you're fighting, even if he's not a puncher or whatever, it doesn't matter. You think, oh, fucking hell, like, sometimes they're fleeting thoughts, but they don't always end your head, but they do quite often. The bell can start and you go like, come on, wake up. It happens, I swear to God, it does. You go, come on, what's going on, like? And you like punch yourself in the face, or you need to get hit in the face, or whatever it is. But like, someone's saying something to you at a press conference, or looking at the guy at the weigh and they go, oh, he looks fit. Nobody say that. He looks in great shape. Does he? Well,
yeah, obviously.
That's mad, isn't it, for a podcast? You think you've been training, wouldn't you? Like, you know what I mean? Well, ironically, I never looked in great shape. But yeah, so all those, looking at the guy who's full of muscles, you've seen him box before, you know what he looks like. It's irrelevant what he looks like. You're there, like, you can. Like, if you wouldn't have won a fight as an amateur if you're worried about what people say to you before a fight.
I remember Errol Spence and Terence Crawford on the scales, and everyone's like, oh fuck me, they look in great shape, both of them. It's like, well, what do you expect? They were both made welterweight. What do you think? One of them's going to turn up fat, like, oh shit, I got the biggest fight in my life, I forgot to train.
Yeah. Right, anyway, Deck, this brings to an end your brief appearance on
brief.
It's brief. It's brief. Well, it's just not the end.
Yeah.
So thanks very much for stopping by today, Barry. We're going to talk about Alan Babic and Steve Robinson after Deck goes.
One more. Ben Whittaker's boxing. Against Leon Willings.
Willings, yeah.
23-year-old kid from Widnes. Good. And he's turned up with ambition. He's not a no-hoper. It's going to be good to see what he does. It's not just someone they've plucked out. 23-year-old turned up, not undefeated. I think he's lost once, but he's not just
7-1.
Yeah, but I'm very excited to see that and see. Ben is the star there, but look out for Leon Willings. I'm looking forward to that.
Central area champion.
Do I just walk out?
Just get out of
it. Cheers, boys.
All right, thanks very much.
Thanks for going.
Don't forget you can catch up with the third best combat sports podcast every Wednesday on Boxing News. Okay, picking it straight back up there after the departure of the co-host of the third best combat sports podcast in the world.
I'm glad he's gone. He's
no loss, really, is it? It's just brought the standard down. I don't know.
Declan Warrington, that wasn't it?
Right, we're going to round things off on the Boxer card, and then we'll do our predictions for the other ones. Not really able to get a full preview in, but again, indicative. It's quite good. When we don't have the time to get everything in, it means that things are good and there's lots to talk about. Or things are really bad.
This is why, when there's no fights on, you go, we can't do a podcast, no fights on. I don't even see the problem. I think we could talk about anything for hours.
Yeah, we definitely could. Yeah, some of it more suitable for camera than others.
Stop saying things like that. I said a couple of. You say some terrible things, by the way.
What, on here? No, I save all mine for afterwards. But anyway, Alan Babic and Steve Robinson. Like, I have to admit, Barry, I'm a sucker for these types of fights. I don't mind them at all. The heavyweight division, is not my favourite. I think everybody who's watched our show over the years knows that. But these ones I quite like these ones, which is like, it's a proper tear up, isn't it? This is going to be a proper slugging, not the, with respect, highest level matchup that we've seen. But I'm quite looking forward to it, I have to say.
Yeah, it is, because Steve obviously got the massive size advantage, haven't he? He's probably about 6 inches taller and 3 stone heavier, whatever it will be. But he looks very vulnerable, doesn't he? And he doesn't look the fastest, and his engine's not great. So you have to make fancy Babic, who's a bridgerweight, cruiserweight really, isn't he? Bridgerweight didn't exist really, but yeah, but his energy, but he have to take a few shots to get forward. But I just see him getting nice and low and swinging shots over the top. And if he can knock out Robinson, which I don't think he will, I think Robinson will be exhausted after about 2 rounds. I sort of write the kid off now, bless him. But that's what I see with Steve Robinson. He looks like a man mountain, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He looks fantastic.
The Disney Drago.
Oh, he looks great, doesn't he?
Great nickname.
Yeah, he looks great. And he seems like a nice bloke, actually. They shouldn't have I don't have any sort of preference on how I think he's going to get on. But they went there. But he's like just a big target to hit, isn't he? That's all. They haven't really, unless they're working on his defence a bit better, and his stamina. But
yeah, I mean,
some big guys just can't get it though. The stamina, you know what I mean? They just don't, because it's just too big to do the work.
He's at the stage now as well. He's 33, so he's 33. He's a big lump.
Yeah, but but if you can even catch Babic coming forward, or catch him in that because he gets nice and low, or if you can get the jab in just keep him on the end of the jab and take a little half a step back when Babic attacks and make him miss, and then drill that right hand on the middle. That's what we're working on. Is jabbing, making sure it comes back fast, but not touch. I hate that word touching, but not putting flows into the jab, almost inviting him, waiting to do that step back. And then throw that right down through the middle, get him right on top of the head, bam, and see how he copes with that, Babic. But I think if Babic can get that rolling coming forward and quicken his feet up, I think he can find a route to the target before Robinson can land any real heavy artillery.
Yeah, first time we've seen Babic as well since the Rosansky fight, which obviously didn't go his way in kind of emphatic fashion, was stopped in a round.
Well, he found a man who
wasn't intimidated by him really.
Not the same style, but a man who fights sort of the same way, but was naturally bigger, stronger, and
punches a lot more
better.
Technically correct as
right,
well. For a couple of rounds, Rosansky looks like a handful. He's the type of guy for a couple of. Obviously, we're going to see him. He's boxing Lawrence Okoli for the WBC Bridgerweight title, which I think Lawrence Okoli should win that fight.
You think so? Yeah, but it came with Lawrence. So Lawrence got all the ingredients to be a fantastic fighter, but no one's teaching him how to throw a jab.
Now training with Joe Gallagher, which was announced today across social media.
I don't mind that at all. I got to be honest. Because they're all in the same region, because he's in Saudi and the other one's in Dubai.
I don't know, to be honest, what the setup is going to be. When the photo was posted today on social media, the location was Moss Side, Manchester.
Okay, well I think
so. I don't know, but regardless,
he's training out at Mike Tyson gym, and he got an academy name. He might not be there all the time.
But I'm not sure, to be honest.
But either way, Joe does the fundamentals quite well. I know I was a fan of Joe Gallagher, but he has a route to success. He's been a successful trainer. He's trained some good fighters and got them in the right. Listen, he got Ann Crawler from a domestic fight to a world fighter, to a world level fighter. That's the truth. Crawler had to do all the fights, but Crawler didn't look like getting to a world title. And you've got to give Joe
for sure. Yeah,
go Gallagher credit for that. Maybe some of the other fighters not so much, but because they had that potential. But Crawler never. I mean, he always did, but no one could see it, but he saw it. So you got to give him credit for that one. And Crawler was a great fighter and the loveliest guy on the planet. After me.
Working the other night on TNT as well, wasn't it?
Fucking everywhere. And then they had him on BBC the other day, and that should have been my job.
Let's just sit here and slag off Anthony Crawler, the consensus nicest man in boxing. This fucking
wanker, you know what I mean? Who did he beat anyway? He couldn't sell a ticket. MEM only owes 20,000. No, listen, no, yeah. I think he'll have him doing the basics well, and the with him is the jab. So he throws it. I don't know what we're going on to him for, but that's the jab. But I think Babic will beat Steve Robinson.
Yes, I agree.
But it'll be a good fight, and while it lasts. But I think Robinson just ran out of steam. Pretty quickly.
Yeah, I can see you could just see that swarming, savage style.
Unless he been training different Robinson. Robinson full of energy and tucks his chin in. Might be a bit of an hard man to move out of the way. But I don't see that.
No, I don't either. To be honest. Before we wrap things up. Dex spoke about Ben Whittaker against Leon Williams. Well, I haven't actually watched, so I'm going to go and watch it after his ringing endorsement. But Ben is one of 2 young guns on the card. Well, there's a few more young guns, but certainly in the prospect stage, you have Callum Simpson and Ben Whittaker. I think we've sort of said an awful lot about Ben Whittaker over recent times, but Callum Simpson, somebody now who's kind of seemingly on the verge. I think he's next in line for the British super middleweight title, of course, won by Zach Chelly against Jack Cullen a month or so ago. What do you make of Callum Simpson?
Yeah, he's looked good, but I'm still not quite sure how good he is. Actually, I think he's looked really good, but I've liked him. I think but he does rush his work when he gets you on. When he hits a guy, he throws too many punches sometimes. Not like in this Eubank approach, but I think he just if you look at his finishes, he just lifts his chin a little bit high and he throws low the shots, which may be the right thing to do. But I just think that when you're stepping up to a higher level with that, you're taking away the quality of the work, and that might cause you a problem against the better opposition, I would say. But I think he's right for the British title level. He's at that level now, I think, most definitely, because I think that the British title at the minute is about 10 fighters who could win it, to be honest. And Chelly's a great story, isn't he, to be honest? But I mean, he's a very beatable fighter.
Yeah, he's not the strongest British champion with respect to him.
No.
But yeah, I mean, everybody is very, very excited about Callum Simpson.
Yeah, I like him. I really like Mark Jeffers. I really like Mark Jeffers.
Yeah, I agree.
I think people are not even taking much notice of Mark Jeffers, and I might do him a favour, because if someone like Callum Simpson might win a British title and go, I'll have Mark Jeffers as my first defence, and I'll be a right mistake, to be honest. But yeah, but I think Callum Simpson, he sells tickets and he's a real likeable character, and that shouldn't have an effect on how his ability goes. I mean, he's a sellable product.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think he's getting better as he's learning from every fight. And I think someone like Chelly will be a hard night for him, but I think his composure will get him out of trouble and keep his shape. And I think I'd fancy him against Chelly, actually. But Ben Whittaker, I think, is a perfect opponent for Ben Whittaker. I do. I'm not quite with Declan there.
Have you seen much of?
No, not enough, to be honest. So I'm talking my back end, but I do think that Whittaker is a guy who will make, unless you're extremely good, he's a horrible fighter to fight against. I think you got to have real power, I think, and I think you got to be able to take a good shot with Whittaker, because he's going to hit you with ones you can't see. So you got to have
that's all sharp and weighty, isn't it? It's
and not give a shit. You almost got to be thick, right? Because they're not to worry about. I know when you miss and you panic, people who don't have that thought process, who can't think on their feet, don't worry if they miss, because they're just fucking throwing punches. That's all they think about. They're the easiest fighters to train, by the way. Apparently, you just say go in it with a jab, and that's all they think about. Jab, jab, jab. They don't get deterred by missing, because that's what they've been told what to do. They can't think of nothing else. You need someone like that against Whittaker. That's when you find out how tough Whittaker is, what he's made of. But if he's allowed time to express himself, and you show a reaction every time he makes you miss and makes you pay, then...
Do you think we're going to get more of the showboating?
Yeah.
You'd think you would have to, really, on the back of... Because he did, really. Like, we talk about a lot of stuff nowadays going viral and getting the attention. That really did.
I was on Sky Sports News with him just after the thing.
Yeah.
And I said... What you do, I'm not a fan of it. And he's like, I said, but do more, keep doing it. You got to. Like,
it's not for people like you, is it? Like,
no, but it is.
It's. Well, I know.
You want people. I don't hate him for it. But
you want people at home going, ah.
Oh, that big head. One generation ago, wait till he steps up, he's going to get knocked out in the end. That or wanting to get beat, like isn't it? Yeah, as long as you're a strong character to not care what people think about you. Like Eubank Jr. was, or is, or Naz was. Cause you want to be liked by everybody. You can't understand why they don't like you, but you don't like someone like me. It'd eat me alive. If you're a strong character and don't give a shit, that's what they're not gonna say to my face, are they? And it's true. So you just carry on. But the younger generation, your generation, you're talking about Naz. You all love Naz. Like we all, my generation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We knew his ability. He was amazing. We knew how good he was. But it was like, fucking arrogant. Look at this. It's disrespectful. This is not on. And generation beyond Mark, I boxed when he boxed, but the generation watching at home, the people my age now, or your age now even, were thinking, what a wanker.
Yeah.
But you wanted to watch him to get beat, but he wouldn't get beat. Or then in the end, you become a fan. But then when you watch that Kevin Kelly fight, you go from what a wanker to, ooh. Might be a wanker, but he's more than just a bully.
The Steve Robinson fight.
He's tough.
Go into behind enemy.
I know you're talking
about the toughness and
yeah. Oh no, but even that, he's 21 years of age.
That's what I mean. Like people who would, he's going to go boxing.
That was a horrible atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was there. I was in the box.
I can imagine.
And by the way, he's from the Yemen, and there's a big Yemeni population in Cardiff, and even they all hated him. Everyone loves Steve Robinson. And we love Steve Robinson in Cardiff. He's like, even now, we love him now. He's like he brought boxing back to Cardiff. He brought mainstream boxing back to Cardiff. He did so much, and we loved him for it. And he was such a humble guy. Still is now to this day. Don't get the respect he deserves, actually, for the fighters he beat. But so even the Yemeni people in Cardiff wanted Robinson to batter him. So that was up, and it was pissing down with rain. Everything we did, all we could. We got the rain clothes out and everything we could, like, you know what I mean. But and a young kid didn't give a shit. He didn't give a shit. But if Ben's got that makeup, I said though, just keep doing what you're doing, and that's the start. And I was saying on as well to there's people in Sky, they're not listening to me, are they? You should be on every show. Like, honest God, if Ben Whittaker's not on the Sky show, what's the fuck's going on?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, because of the money. But I mean, but he's the one. He's the only one they've got outside the heavy division who could be their pay-per-view star. And that's to get everyone's looking to get Cal Brook back. I see Cal Brook at every single show. I saw him Saturday, by the way. I said, "You're everywhere you at the minute." Like literally, like everyone's going, "Who wants me?" And they all want him, don't they? Because he can sell. But we haven't got one really in the country now, have we? Really, outside of him, Eubank, Conor really. Ben still probably would do it, but he's probably still would because of the name. But I mean, no, he hasn't got a license, so he can't fight in the UK. But I mean, all the others, where is the next one? He might be the one because of that alone, just because of that. Yeah. And also, I think he can fight.
Oh, he can absolutely fight.
No, I mean, I think he can be a brilliant boxer, but I think he can. He can
absolutely fight. I mean, we spoke about this on the pod previously. I did an interview with him in Saudi as well. I spoke about it. I remember he was 18 in the Europeans, and he boxed. He boxed a guy called Alexander Kizhniak.
Yeah, you said this.
And you watch it, and that's Ben Whitt, 18, scrawny, undeveloped, a boy really, against. And if you haven't watched Alexander Kizhniak, do yourself a favour and go and watch Alexander Kizhniak on YouTube. And he had to hang in there while he was really under the kosh. And there's under the kosh, and then there's under the Kizhniak kosh.
See, when you see that, when you have a start, like I said about Fraser Clarke, he hadn't had the tests and all that stuff. But when you've got a Ben Whittaker who, like, earning his career now, who has that star potential, clearly has a star potential, and it goes against what I've said about Fraser Clarke. It doesn't matter who he's fighting now, as long as he's boxing all the time, and like, more fights, less camps, and we say that that's a new saying we all got now, isn't it? And it's true. So, like, just get him out all the time. So he's like, every time you think about boxing, you think Ben Whittaker, and then all of a sudden you chuck him into a big fight. Not a world title fight, but all of a sudden he boxing for the British title after boxing nobody. Like my mate did from Newbridge. He didn't box anyone any great. I was having proper tests. I was in my early career, because even though I was a good amateur, I never won season as a pro, as a senior. Yeah. So the people still want to see if you had the medal. But he's proved that already, hasn't he?
Yeah, and that's the thing with him. That's
it might not be over 3 rounds, but he's proved it against a real high, tough quality opposition. So you sort of know that's in the bag. And once he's doing the rounds in sparring, and you're training for the rounds, and some people might take him a few rounds, and then don't chuck him at world level, you chuck him at the British level, European, twice, like Adam Azine. You put him in McGuigan, I would. Twice like Adam Azine, twice European level, then you get the old version in that weight of Jose Zepeda. Then you get your version of Regis Prograis, if that weight, that division. Years ago, that type of guy. And then you chuck him in a world title fight, and then but before he gets to that, he's already selling pay-per-views. He's already selling arenas out, and he's selling, and they're looking for a football stadium for him. Yeah, and you're the home fighter in a big world title fight. Yeah, you've got enough clout that you can bring people over. And he keeps boxing. I said this the other day about the Olympians. That was great, by the way. But he's the prime example of that, because he transcends the sport. Dalton Smith don't transcend the sport. He's a great fighter. He might be the better fighter. He might be a better fighter. I'm not saying he is, but he might end up being. But he won't transcend the sport. He might be big for our sport, but no one outside the sport will give a shit. That's just the facts. I'm not digging him out. No, it's true, Adam Azine might be the same thing, by the way. He might, I mean, because of his cultural differences, that'll massively help, which always does, or where you're from, and all those things will help and garnish more support. But still, it's very difficult to break out that mold, especially if you're a heavyweight. It's different. You just got to be there and beat somebody. If you're a heavyweight, it's true, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's true. You still got to beat them, but these other guys, you got to have that X factor, something special, and it seems like Ben Whittaker has that. One of the things that I was thinking the other day was that would we, over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, provided the Ben Whittaker train keeps going on the track that it looks like it's going down, we get sort of mini Ben Whittakers like we used to get mini Nazes, with people coming to try and imitate the style and try and copy and do all of the same sorts of stuff. I wonder whether or not we see an uptake in that. Yeah, all you see is a generation. I remember with Naz, I said with Naz and Mayweather, I said,
yeah,
you're just going to get
Mayweather's another great example of we started to see the shoulder roll.
But you're going to get a generation of people getting knocked out because you can't. Some of these fights, I mean, the Ingle, actually Naz, that was the Ingle way, and sort of the Sheffield way, actually, not just them, no, the Sheffield way, but them more than anyone else, and you sort of go, you have to do that from a young age. You have to instill it when you're young because that's not a natural way to fight. And you can maybe do it, but not, you got to be really talented to take that later in your life. So it's a generation of people get knocked out trying to do the shoulder roll and trying to box like Naz and stuff like that. But either way, it brings people to the sport because they fall in love with it. That's the truth. Look, Barry McGuigan's a prime example for my generation. Barry's about 15 years older than me. Looks 10 years younger, the prick. But I mean, he was everything. He was on BBC. He was everything, right? He was just unbelievable. Like, I mean, we'd all going like this. Hitching our shorts up, all the habit. I mean, Paul Hodgson was a brilliant world champion, WBC featherweight champion. Paul from Liverpool, Paul Hodgson. He trained out the Ban Eastwood, he trained out the Belfast with Ban Eastwood. He used to hitch his shorts up on McGuigan. I mean, he was and he didn't quite do that, but he was very similar because he just the habit. Because he was like, okay, he's probably about 10 years older than me, so he was just behind McGuigan. But that brought a whole new generation of kids who wanted to box. It was just awe-inspiring. And Joshua is another example, isn't he? I say about the Klitschko, I'll continue to say it, that speech, every kid who wanted to box or even watch boxing went to the gym the next day after that speech. Things like that, kids remember forever. And Ben Whittaker and Naz, the style, like your generation, you talk about Naz, I've heard all your kids, when you're out and they're talking about Naz. Oh, when I was a kid watching Naz, it was unbelievable. He was everything, wasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
The shit he was doing.
The earliest memory I have of boxing was Nassim Hamed versus Wayne McCulloch.
But it was
the first fight I remember.
But to you didn't see it. You just thought it was brilliant. All the shit, not the fights, the shit.
Yeah. And I don't remember the fight. I remember the entrance.
Yeah.
Because it was the Halloween entrance.
I didn't care about that. I didn't even watch the entrances. They had no interest in me there. I don't know fucking watch shit. I was watching fight. I want to watch him fight. I always wanted to watch him fights because he was brilliant to watch. But all the other crap around it didn't interest me. But that's what interests. But that's the real. Well, that's what makes you special. Yeah. That's why I said to Ben Whittaker, I'm not a fan of what you do. I'm a fan of you, but not what you do. But don't stop doing it. Do it more. That's what's going to make you. That's what's going to make you the superstar if you're good enough.
He's going to come up on the weekend, just keep it nice and high guard, and afterwards say, "Well, I spoke to Barry Jones, and he said he wanted."
No, but do what you do. As long as you can do it, at some point, you're going to get chinned. You can't fight like that for the rest of your career and not get chinned. Somewhere you're going to slow down.
Someone's going to hit you.
You're going to make the mistake.
Particularly that weight. You're going to have somebody in there who's going to be able to get you.
Well, you don't do that. Better BF, no.
Yeah.
Bivol, no. You're going to catch you. You're not going to get away with it. Or maybe you will. But Naz got
That's
caught.
the intrigue.
Naz got caught in the end. Yeah. Naz got caught before the end, by the way. You got Daniel Lacey knocked him down, people like that. But I mean,
regretted it about a round and a half later, but he did. Yeah, he had him over, didn't he? Yeah. But no, absolutely.
I gotta say one thing. Naz, I was meant to fight Naz, and he fucking bottled it.
There we go. Maybe we can still make it happen.
That's not the story. Actually,
I
was meant to do an exhibition with Naz.
Were you?
Yeah, on a Cardiff show, and then I turned up with my kit. And then he sat ringside with Warren. I never knew Frank Warren at the time. I don't know him now, really, but only my manager. And I remember going up to him. I go and he said, "Oh, the fight's off now. He doesn't want to fight." And I go on it was an exhibition. I go up. I go, "What the fuck's going on?" He will remember this. And he went, "Well, you had the opportunity to fight me. I'm not doing a fucking exhibition." He said, and he's right, but I didn't know. I go, "I'll fight you." My trainer didn't want me to fight him. He was just doing an exhibition with him for get paid. He just wanted to get paid. I didn't care. I'd fight anyone. Yeah. But anyway, the real story is he bottled it. And he knew I would have ended that Naz story before he won the European title. It would have been the end of him. No Naz. Baz.
Baz.
I mean Baz, not Naz.
Prince Baz. There we go. The real Yemeni champion.
I remember when I won the world title in the Sunday paper, the Wales on Sunday, whatever it was, they put Baz wants Naz, and I was thinking, no, I fucking don't. What are you on about? I don't want Naz. Whoa, Baz doesn't want Naz. I went around every fucking paper shop going, doesn't want Naz.
Yeah, sue them for libel. Right, okay. We've reached the end of today's show.
What about the Tim Zoo?
We don't have time, Barry. We don't have time, mate. So what we're going to do is we're going to go for
the best show of the.
We're going to give the predictions of that card,
Okay.
but we're going to start with this Sunday's card on Sky Sports. So we are going to start with first of all the man that we've just been discussing, Ben Whittaker. over 8 rounds that he's boxing against Leon Willings. Barry, how do you see that one going?
Whittaker by stoppage.
Whittaker by stoppage.
Yes.
Up next, Alan Babic versus Steve Robinson.
Oh, I think Babic by stoppage. But
what are you torn between? Decision or?
No.
Or Steve Robinson chinning him? It's one of those, isn't it? It could sort of do a lot of things, that fight.
But it's just got to see a size difference. Size difference? Yeah.
Yeah, the size. Okay, Vidal Riley against Mikel Lawal.
I think Riley on points.
Florian Marku against Chris Kongo.
I've been swinging with this one. Not in a good way. Kongo on points.
Okay, and last but by no means least for Sunday night, Fabio Wardley.
Someone's getting stopped, I think. And I do agree with you. I got to make a caveat to this.
Everything needs to be caveats all over the
place.
I
remember with all this, I really like you, but it's not personal. But I do think that Wardley, Clarke, if anyone's going to be winning a fight, it will be Clarke. But I think Wardley stops him late. I don't know why I have to say late. It's irrelevant, isn't it? But I think he catches him some point, yeah. But maybe when he's on his way down.
Yeah, I mean, it really could go a variety of ways. Going to quickly whiz through Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora. This is
but they're all stoppages on that card.
Okay, let's hear about it. Right, let's go. Let's start off with, which we don't have on the app just yet, but it will be by the time this goes out, so we're all good. Julio Cesar Martinez returns and defends his WBC featherweight title against Angelino Cordova.
Yeah, I think Martinez stoppage.
Martinez by
Cordova's not a bad fight actually, but he's hittable.
Fight.
He's hittable though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
but he's busy. So
yeah, and Martinez, I still don't think he's been the same since the Chocolatito fight. I think since then he's really, really. But
I think because Cordova's hittable, I think he might just walk onto a shot there.
Okay, Elijah Garcia versus Kyron Davis.
Oh, I didn't think we were going to go that far down.
Try and give people plenty of bang for their buck on the Boxing News app.
Is that even okay? Garcia stoppage.
Yeah, Kyron Davis is a good fighter, but I really like Elijah Garcia. He boxed on.
I just think it was stoppage on points, but I think stoppage. Yeah,
I think it was the Canelo Charlo undercard he boxed on. He boxed really, really well. Fight that I'm really looking forward to: Erislandy Lara versus Michael Zarafa.
Yeah, I think Lara stops him.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I do.
Very interesting because Zarafa's tough, man.
Yeah, he
Zarafa's
is. Yeah.
game, and I don't know what Lara has left.
And that's my only worry about Lara's left. But I sort of saying that like he's for 15 years. It's mad, isn't it? But I just think the angles he'll throw the shots. I think that's why.
And he stopped to have it a little bit more. Yeah. Now. It kind of reminds me when Rigondeaux got to the end of his career and he's like, okay, I'm just going to stand and sort of have a go now.
Yeah, I think he might. I think at this level, he's still better. You know, it's a world title, but you know what I mean.
It's so much more pedigree.
Tier,
I think that's a really good fight. I think
it's a good fight.
I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Anyway, Serhii Bohachuk against Brian Mendoza for the interim WBC super welterweight title.
I think Mendoza stops him.
Stoppage.
Yeah,
okay.
No, I was going to say points on that one, but I think Bohachuk's so easy to hit. You know, he can punch, but his chin's too high, man. It's just too high.
I like Mendoza as well. Yeah. Well schooled, good fighter. I
think he gets him late. I do.
Rolando Romero against Isaac Cruz. This is a brilliant
fight. This is hard, man. I think Cruz gets him.
Stoppage?
Yeah. But it could be the other way.
Yeah. I think because Rolly can definitely punch.
He can punch,
but he's wide open, and he's wide open to the left hook.
Cruz takes a good shot as well.
Yeah.
And he's low. Because he's about 3 foot, isn't he?
And I think it's the right style for Isaac Cruz as well. He was really poor when he boxed.
Oh, the Italian kid.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Cabrera.
Yeah, Giovanni Cabrera, that's it. He was really poor, but that style is always going to make him. It's always going to make him look.
You was there,
bad.
That's what I'm on about.
I was.
With you.
And he. But Rolly is
that's a tall guy.
He's so negative and on the back. And he's almost sort of like novice-y the way that he approached it as well.
Rolly cannot commit. He cannot not commit. He has to go for it. So I think.
And with that comes opportunity. Okay. And then last but not least on that card, Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora.
Yeah, I think Tszyu gets him.
I think this is a risky fight for Tim Tszyu. I think this is a much more live fight than seemingly the consensus does. Fundora got stopped by Brian Mendoza, but he was dominating that fight until he stopped him. Mendoza was ready to go, and then he got caught with a big shot, and the fight was over.
And Tszyu likes to take his time, which he won't have. He won't be allowed the luxury in this fight to do that. Because as he's walking forward, taking his time, he's going to have that jab, that uppercut whipping through.
And those people talk about the fact that obviously Fundora's like 8 foot tall, and he doesn't fight like that. But with that comes like the shots that he does throw come at very awkward angles, like
and he gets acceleration.
He
gets a proper acceleration.
He's a handful, and like how difficult is it going to be for Tim? He doesn't seem bothered by it, but going from a Keith Thurman to a Sebastian Fundora, that is.
But I think that's the way the secret about. I think all these game plan stuff is fantastic, and it really is. But I think it has to be very loose. And if you have a look, having this rigid game plan for a fighter, I mean, the highest level, it becomes more important. But I think so many things can go wrong in a fight. You pretty much what you really has to do is know what you are, hone what you do perfectly, consistently, repetition. Try and add bits to your game, but not with the risk of taking anything away. So you try and add little bits, and try and add little bits just for that fight in particular. But ultimately, you can't change who you are. So change your style totally for one fighter for the other. So it's only really like this, we're going to be moving more to our left because he does this. So it shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be hugely difficult. That's what I'm trying to say. It shouldn't be hugely. It's not ideal, but as long as you're boxing, just worried on what you do well and concentrate on what you do well and trying to work on your negatives. Then really much it shouldn't be that bad where people are just watching him. Somebody's going to study him for a while now and say, listen, this is what he does. I'll show you what he does. That computer analysis, what they should be doing nowadays, and go and see that's what he does well, and just work on that. That can't be the massive. It's totally different, but it shouldn't take that massively long time to adjust. I don't think. Unless you're trying to change, reinvent the wheel for every time you fight someone, do something totally different, which is fucking stupid anyway. So yeah, it's not ideal, and if he gets beat, he uses an excuse, and you can't blame him. But to be fair, he's gone. Well, it is what it is, isn't it? But I think he gets to him because he carries loads of power. Fundora does stand tall, can't help it because he is tall, but he does.
I know he's there.
Yeah, and I think Tszyu will jump in. He does close the gap quite quick. He walks, maybe he waits a little bit longer times. When he commits to the shot, he throws it, and an overhand right's going to be a problem, I think.
I know it's not really Tszyu's style, but I would like to see him start fast. He doesn't do that. But I just feel the first few rounds, particularly
he might get buzzed
Fundora. Because the thing, this is something that I think has been overlooked. Fundora's got good power, and Tszyu was down against Terrell Gaucher. He's not the hardest to hit.
No, he's not, because he tries to walk into you like that, and all he's focused on is just getting close to the land with the shot. So he might get caught. So starting fast is important, but also rushing your work is an issue as well. If he tries to rush in and he gets caught coming in, what you don't want to do, you don't want to be like just standing there letting the guy find the range on you, but you also don't be rushing into the shots.
Yeah.
Because you get Fundora whipping an uppercut through as you're coming onto it.
That's a serious shot.
That's lifting you off your feet. Shot that is.
Look at what he did to Erickson Lubin, and okay, he was hurt in that fight, but still, he showed in that fight he could get up and come back. Obviously, he didn't against Brian Mendoza, but different sort of shot. So yeah, I think that's a really good fight. I could put it out there. I wouldn't be surprised if Sebastian Fundora wins. I'll be honest with you. I do think
Tszyu. If Tszyu can hit you, he can hurt you. And I think, and if he hurts you, he will finish you. I think. And I'm not sure if Fundora will be. I mean, get off the floor, but I'm not sure what he'd be like under sustained pressure from Tszyu. I think that's where I fancy him to win. It's a good fight. That card is fantastic.
Brilliant fight. And
you could all those fights that I've gone for, and I pretty much gone for all the favourites except for Cruz.
I don't know if he is a favourite. He might. He's the B
he's not the
favourite.
He's not. Yeah, but he might. Yeah, but I think he won't be the favourite on all those fights. But you can switch those easily. I think that's what it's like.
Yeah, it's a brilliant card. So how many world title fights you've got?
But Tszyu,
it's the unified world title fight, and there's an interim belt, then there's the Rolly fight's a world title fight.
The Martinez fight's a world title fight. On the bill,
that's not even on the pay-per-view, that's on the YouTube or the prelims or whatever they're calling it now. Anyway, right.
But also, I think, except for the Mendoza fight, all of them are pretty much going to be stoppages.
Yeah.
That's the only fight that you probably think, actually, by being sensible, that goes the distance. But the others,
There's 2 more cards for this weekend.
Is that? Okay.
But we're just going to do the main events.
That's good, isn't it?
So we're going to do Oscar Valdez against Liam Wilson.
It's a good fight, that is.
Really
actually,
good fight.
Yeah. This is a lot to what Valdez got left, I think.
Yeah.
But I do fancy him still. I know Wilson gave Navarrete a really good fight. Great fight. That was a great fight, by the way. But he's cleaner, Valdez, with his work. So I think he'd have an easier night than Navarrete had with Wilson.
Points?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Wilson's tough, man. So he's not. I don't think he stops. I think he hurts him, but I don't think he stops him.
And then last but not least, Guillemarian versus Zurdo Ramirez. So sort of not really discussed fight.
No, this is a hard
really.
fight. This is.
Yeah.
Guillemarian. I remember watching him boxing in 1978.
He's boxed once
his last fight.
4.5 years.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
The Alexei Egorov fight. I know there's full kind of disclosure on that. I mean, people who have been following that whole saga, it was delayed. There was COVID. It got to one of the many times that fight was delayed was after the weigh-in. The weigh-in happened, and then I think it was Egorov, or it might have been Guillemarian, I can't remember, basically became ill or whatever. And then they eventually had the fight. And then he's done nothing since then as well.
Imagine you've gone...
Boxed once in nearly 5
Imagine
years.
you've taken your fighter, or it's a fight you've gone, let's go the WBA route. You've just been sat on the curbs, haven't you, waiting for something to happen. Like they've held that title, the ransom. It's ridiculous. Anyway, but it's a good fight, that is, because you first thought there's Ramirez be busier, and but I don't know. He's strong now, Guillemarian.
He is.
He's a bad boxer. He's not great, but he does a lot of things.
Bends well at the waist.
He does a lot of things well, I think. Yeah, and he's really strong, really strong. And Ramirez will struggle with that. But I do think he will win, though, Ramirez. But I think it'll be a hard night for him.
It wouldn't surprise me if he has to show a bit.
Yeah, he's going to get tagged, isn't he?
Yeah, physically he's going to have to show a bit. I think I like the activity for him. Yeah, just going through Guillemarian's record now, he eventually boxed Alexei Egorov in November of 2022. So that's the last time he boxed, which is nearly 18 months ago. And then before then, he hadn't boxed since December of 2019. So in the last 4.5 years, he's boxed once. And hasn't boxed for 18 months.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Exactly. But when I first thought, I thought, Ramirez would be too busy for him. And then I went, no, it's Benavidez. What am I on about? I genuinely did.
Different giants.
It's Benavidez, but he's looking about the wrong fighter.
But if you go through Zurdo, I mean, people have their own kind of opinions on Zurdo and his level of opponent. But even if you look at sort of recent years, Joe Smith Jr., sort of his only foray officially anyway above 175 pounds. Obviously, Dimitri Bivol was sort of well beaten in that.
But he didn't disgrace himself.
No, and again, you've been in with those guys as well.
I think so. And you've learned to be, and you've been through that frustrating part where you find it hard, you're not being able to dominate or exert yourself on somebody, I should say. And so I think it helps him for this fight, and he'll be disciplined. I think he's a big guy because he'll feel the strength and go, I don't fancy that. Yeah, and he does do, and he's technically better boxer. You throw the 1-2 nice and neat.
Decent movement as well. You'd expect his movement to hold up pretty
just
well.
He's a little bit busier, I think. He can pull. You throw in 2s and 3s and keep moving. And I think Guillemarian has got the fastest of feet. But he will get to him at some point. So it's mostly you stay safe. I don't know how big a puncher Guillemarian is, though. He's strong. I don't know if he's actually a big puncher. And again,
the guys that he's stopped have been at a very, very less than flattering level.
Yeah.
But yeah, very physically strong.
Yeah.
But I thought he could have stopped Egorov, but they looked like two guys who hadn't boxed for 2 years. It was that type of fight. So you're going for...
I think Ramirez on points.
Zurdo on points. Okay. We're there. We're done. We're complete.
What's your predictions?
I can do mine.
Is it too many? Or you want to do your own little...
I'll probably end up doing mine and just posting mine on socials. Usually we go round and obviously Deck's fucked off. No Andy Clarke today. Shout out Andy Clarke, but not here today.
Good show.
Very good. Very good. Hopefully the standard wasn't brought down too much by old bronze medal over there, Deck Taylor. Bronze Deck. But that's all we have time for. Don't forget, you can get your predictions in on the Boxing News app. Boxing News Predict and Score app, available now in the App Store and the Play Store. So don't forget to get that. Get your predictions in for your chance to win some free prizes, some merch, some giveaways, a bit of money, who knows. But from all of us here, all two of us, the Boxing Show, thanks very much for stopping by. Don't forget to let us know in the comments who you think is going to be winning out of the 1,500 fights that are this weekend, and we'll see you next Monday.